Today's starting lineups brought to you by Gatorade.
Well, we're just about ready to go here from Max Bishop Stadium as we get ready for a little bit of midweek non-conference action between the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers and your Navy Midshipmen. It's Navy Midshipmen Baseball. You're on the Navy Baseball Network. Matt Sabatis with you here this afternoon from Max Bishop Stadium. Mount St. Mary's coming into today's game a 13-17 record. They're on a one-game losing streak right now, and 9-10 on the road this season, while the Mids are coming in strong following a pretty decent conference doubleheader split weekend against Lafayette and Lehigh. They're 18-15 on the year, 9-6 in conference play, 9-9 in non-conference play, but 14-18 here at Max Bishop, or 14-8 rather, here at Max Bishop Stadium. Don't want to sell them short of what they've been able to put together here at this facility this season. We'll have plenty to talk about when we open up with the starting lineups. First pitch is right around the corner. Navy Baseball returns in a moment. Well, a nice rendition of our national anthem in the books here at Max Bishop Stadium as we're ready to go for the Navy Midshipmen and the Mount St. Mary's Mountaineers in this one-off midweek matchup between non-conference foes. Again, Matt Sabatis with you here on this lovely Wednesday afternoon. Obviously, chillier temperatures here in Annapolis than we had dealt with last week, but As they continue to rise into the springtime, we are looking forward to a fun game today. Let's go ahead and introduce you to the starting lineups. First, for the visiting Mountaineers from Mount St. Mary's, leading off, you've got the second baseman, Sam Grube. The third baseman, Ty Frito, bats second. At shortstop, Nolan Brook, he's batting third. Batting fourth, the first baseman, Bryce Rudisill. Designated hitter, Ethan Flower. Batting sixth, the left fielder, Matteo Zeppieri. And seventh, the center fielder, Evan Meyer. Batting eighth, the catcher, Kyle Cincinnati. And rounding out the lineup, the right fielder, Jacob Slusarski. The Mountaineers are coached by Frank Leone, assisted by Dave Gage, Anthony Spataro, and Cal Berman. At 13 and 17 on the season, and again their lineup features Sam Grube, Ty Frito, Nolan Book, Bryce Rudisill, Ethan Flower, Matteo Zeppieri, Evan Meyer, Kyle Cincinnati, and Jacob Slusarski, all to face off against Navy left-handed pitcher Kevin Maurer on the mound. Midshipmen come into today's game wearing their cream white jerseys with the single blue pinstripe down the middle as Maurer tosses his last couple of warm-up throws, just waiting for the second baseman Sam Grube to get into the batter's box. I expect to see the ball carry maybe just a little bit more than we have over the last few days. But the Mids get back to their spots on the field as Maurer is ready to go. And the second baseman, Grube, digs in. Lefty on lefty to get things started here in this contest. As Maurer kicks and deals the first pitch home. It's a fastball called for strike on the lower outside corner, and we're underway at 3:06 p.m. on this 48-degree sunny day here in Maryland's capital. Next pitch on its way to Grube, a check swing, a bit of a flinch. No appeal yet. Oh, now we get the appeal. Over to third base umpire Stephen McCullen, who calls Grube for a strike, says he went around on the check, and it's already 0-2 on Grube. .316 average on the season for Sam Grube. 29 games played, all starts this season as he lofts one into shallow left field. Tough look for Detus in left, but he's able to find it. Had his hands out for a split moment, thinking he might have lost it in the sky. But he reels it in, and we're underway with a fly out to left. Let's tell you about the defense for Navy here in the top of the first inning. From left to right in the outfield, you've got Detus, Bouchard, Ceccarelli. And on the infield at third, Brown, Mitchell at short, Murtha at second, Izquierdo at first, and DePerno, the catcher, behind the plate for Kevin Maurer on the mound. First pitch into the third is called for a strike. Nags the lower outside corner, and it's 0-1 to start. .364 average on the season for Frito in 30 games all starts. Next pitch to him misses outside, and it's the first ball thrown by Kevin Maurer so far today. Already the next offering, a bouncing ball. Hit over to the left and a foul. Into the third base coach's box, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Frito has 6 doubles, a triple, 3 homers. He's got 23 RBI. That's one of the better numbers on the team. One of 3 players with 20 runs driven in this season. The 1-2, swing and a miss for strike 3. Got him to chase on a curveball down low. Went under the zone, and Maurer is off and running here with 2 gone to start the first inning. Again, Mount St. Mary's comes into today's game with a 13-17 record. Navy 18-15, but they have been playing strong in these midweek matchups against many of these non-conference foes, and they play stadium. First pitch on its way to the shortstop. Nolan Book is too far down and away, and it's 1-0 to start. First time that Maurer has started behind a batter so far this afternoon. 1-0. And it's called for strike. Grabs the outside corner again. Working well on those change-ups. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Max Bishop Stadium, 318 feet down the line to left field, 300 to right, and 390 to straightaway center as the 1-1 is called for strike in the lower outside corner. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes now. Your umpiring crew for today's game, you've got Stephen McMullen over at third base. Craig Alden is at first, and Donald O'Shea calls the balls and strikes behind home plate. The 1-2. Curveball too far outside, couldn't get Book to chase. And it's a 2 ball, 2 strike count right now here on Nolan Book. .325 average in 30 games, all starts for him this season. 2-2. Just too far outside, another change up, and it's the first full count of the day for Kevin Maurer. Book's got 6 doubles, no triples, 2 homers, 29 RBI to lead the team. The payoff pitch is laced out to right field, and it's going to fall in just in front of Ceccarelli. Two-out single here for Nolan Book, and the shortstop extends the inning just enough here for Mount St. Mary's to bring up the cleanup batter, Bryce Rudisil. Rudisil, a lefty, steps in, a .231 average in 29 games all starts this season. He's got 3 doubles, no triples, but 6 home runs. First pitch. And he watches one miss just a little bit high. Count starts out at 1-0. You hear that wind starting to whisk just north of 800 for Rudisil on the season. And a dead even strikeout to walk ratio. He has got a good approach to the strike zone. He watches this one grab the lower outside corner of the zone, another changeup. And it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Well, so far, Maurer's done a strong job at peppering the edges of the zone, getting Mount St. Mary's to just watch. Handful of called strikes early. The 2-1 is swung on and missed, down and away. And it's quickly 2-2 after Rudisil had worked ahead. 2 balls and no strikes. So good bounce back so far here for Kevin Maurer. Just needs to put him down. Runner at first, 2 away, and a scoreless top of the first. Next pitch home. And it's knuckled off of the batter. Too far ahead of the curve. This is down and away. Runner takes off, and the throw to second is going to be a little bit off target from DePerno. Give it a wild pitch to allow Nolan Book to advance to second base this season. Seen a little bit from the Mountaineers in the stolen base department, but from what we're understanding in conversations with the Navy coaching staff, they've got some good eyes over at first base. You got to be mindful. Anything in the dirt, they're going to jump. 3-2 and a knuckle bounce swinging bunt over to the pitcher, and the glove is not going to make the full contact from Maurer. Call it an infield single for Rudisil, as he just nubbed one up the third base line. And as Maurer went running for it, reached down, tried to grab it with the glove. It came off of his glove, and by the time he even got there, it would have been too difficult to throw out Rudisil at first base anyway. So that puts Book at third base, and Rudisil is going to reach, bring up the designated hitter, switch hitter Ethan Flower. First pitch is called for strike, delayed steal, up to second, runner holds up, and a double steal is going to bring the run in to score. But now they've got the back runner in a rundown. They will tag out Rudisil, but in the run around, Book is able to cross home plate, and that run will count. End of the top of the first inning. So Mount St. Mary's 1, Navy set to bat. Navy baseball returns in a moment. We move on to the bottom of the first inning here at Max Bishop Stadium. Matt Sabatis with you as Navy comes into the bottom of the first, trailing 1-0. Let's go ahead and introduce you to the starting lineup for the Midshipmen as they try to take the lead over Mount St. Mary's. Leading off in right field, you've got Mason Ceccarelli. In left field, Noah Ditas is batting second. Batting third, at third, you've got Evan Brown. Cleaning up and catching, Ty DePerno. Batting fifth at first base, Victor Izquierdo. Batting sixth at second, Brock Murtha. Batting seventh in center field, Tyler Bouchard. Batting eighth, the DH, Tristan Rucker. And batting ninth, the shortstop, Henry Mitchell. First pitch set to come quickly in here to the right fielder, Ceccarelli, from the right-hander, Mason Brown. Righty on lefty to get things started here in the bottom of the first. And the first pitch to Ceccarelli is called for strike in the outside edge. It's 0-1 to start. Midshipman, coached by Chuck Ristano. Again, their starting lineup: Ceccarelli, Ditas, Brown, DePerno, Izquierdo, Murtha, Bouchard, Rucker, and Mitchell, all to face off against Ryan Brown on the mound for Mount St. Mary's. Next pitch misses a bit low. It's 1 ball and 1 strike now here on Mason Ceccarelli. And Navy comes into today's game with an 18-15 record on the season. Lost their most recent game, back end of a doubleheader, but they've played well here at home as the 1-1 pitch to Ceccarelli comes in too far down and inside from Brown, who's making his 4th appearance of the season today. 82-mile-an-hour off speed. And the wind carrying out to left as the 2-1 is too far outside on Ceccarelli. It's 3 balls and 1 strike here. But glad you're with us as Navy is trying to continue on what's been a strong run here in these midweek matchups. These non-conference affairs have usually been going pretty clean their way. The 3-1 is fouled off to the left side, and the count runs full here early on Ceccarelli. Last time they had one of these midweek matchups was a week ago today. Maryland Eastern Shore came to town, and it was a game that stretched out a little bit. Took 11 innings for Navy to pull off the win. Here's the payoff pitch. Ceccarelli smokes it into left center field, running down on it Meyer. He won't get there. Plays it on 1 hop, and Ceccarelli is on safely to lead off the bottom of the first inning with a single. As Navy trails 1-0 here in the bottom of the frame, it'll be Noah Ditas to step into the batter's box. First right-hander in the lineup for Navy. They'll have 3 lefties coming up to bat at different points today. 2 true lefties in Ceccarelli and Bouchard, and then the switch hitter Henry Mitchell, who's batting 9th this afternoon. Left fielder Ditas steps in, but first a lighthearted pickoff throw over to first base, sliding back in safely Ceccarelli with no issue. Ceccarelli's only attempted 1 steal this season. He was caught. Navy as a team, though, they've been pretty successful. Here's a bunt, but as it goes in the air, it'll go behind home plate, too far behind the reach of the catcher Cincinnati, so Ditas is going to luck out of that one and get another chance at the plate. Never want to see a bunt go high like that, but Ditas gets to try again. .227 average on the season for Noah Ditas in 18 games, 14 starts. No extra base hits yet this year. 3 runs batted in. 4 walks, 14 strikeouts. Here's another pickoff throw. This one with a little bit more gusto behind it. Still not in time, as Rudisil over at first was quick to toss in a tag. Ceccarelli still got there with breath to spare. 1-0 Navy trails. Here's the 0-1, another show of bunt, but this one, as it goes on the ground, it goes too far to the right side of the foul line, up on the first base side. That will run the count to 0-2 here on Noah Ditas, and it takes away the potential opportunity of a sacrifice, unless Navy wants to get a little risky here. But this early in the game and only a 1-run game, you don't normally see that. See if Ditas tries it again. Here's the next 0-2, laced up the first base line and foul out of play. Count stays at 0-2. Ditas only had 1 appearance over the weekend in the 4 games between Lehigh and Lafayette, but he did pick up a walk and a base hit. Also contributed with an RBI for the Mids. 0-2. Swing and a miss. Down low for strike 3. Delayed steal. Throw to second is going to beat the runner. Tough slide into second for Ceccarelli. Got his foot up in the air just a little bit. And that was going to lead to a 2-6 caught stealing. So a strike him out, throw him out, double play. Takes the leadoff base hit off of the boards for the midshipmen. And now puts them in a bit of a bind with bases empty and 2 outs here for Evan Brown. Navy trailing 1-0 here in the bottom of the first inning. The first pitch to Brown is called for strike in the outside half, 0-1 to start. Let's tell you about the defense for Mount St. Mary's. From left to right in the outfield, you've got Zeppieri, Meyer, and Slusarski. Try saying that outfield 5 times fast. Frito's at third, Book is at short. Grube at second, Rudisil at first, and Cincinnati catches behind the plate for Ryan Brown on the mound. Next pitch bounces in low and away and runs the count even on Evan Brown, 1-1. Brown versus Brown. Feel like that could be the name of a sitcom somewhere. Either way, Evan Brown at .274 average on the season, 7 doubles, 2 triples, 2 homers, and he pops this pitch right up the chimney. Over onto the third base side, into foul ground now. Frito, shading his eyes, leans back and makes the catch. Leadoff single, not anything for Navy. They only send the minimum to the plate in the bottom of the first, and after one, they trail Mount St. Mary's 1-0. Navy baseball returns in a moment. Back to Max Bishop Stadium as we move on to the second inning between Navy and Mount St. Mary's. Matt Sabatas with you. Glad to have you with us here in Annapolis this afternoon as Navy tries to move to 19-15 here in the regular season. See if they can pick up another midweek win. But they trail 1-0 right now, and Kevin Maurer will try and put together a scoreless inning after allowing 2 base hits and a run on a double steal in the top of the first inning. Here in the second, he faces 5, 6, and 7 in the Mount St. Mary's lineup. Ethan Flower leads things off, the switch-hitting designated hitter. First pitch, and he watches it for called strike on the outside edge of the zone, 0-1. So far, so good for Maurer when it comes to grabbing the zone quickly and consistently, as the next pitch is swung on and missed down. Off speed runs it to 0-2. 5 batters faced so far for Maurer. He started ahead on 4 of them. The 0-2 pitch, just a bit low, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes now. And of those 4 batters, when you include Flower, they've all started behind at 0-1, and all 4 of those batters on a called strike. They've just watched it. Here's the 1-2. Swinging a tapper over to the left side. Tough play run in for Brown from third. Nice sidearm toss from the hot corner, and he retires Flower at first. 5-3 putout gets us started here in the top of the second inning. And now on to the left fielder, Matteo Zeppieri. Don't forget, today's Navy baseball game is brought to you by Luminous Health. With more than 100 sites of care, we are on a mission to improve the health of the communities we serve. First pitch in to the left-hander. And Zeppieri watches it miss just a little bit outside, and it's 1-0 to start. Zeppieri on the season at .256 average. In 29 games, 27 starts, he strokes one deep out to right field, and Ceccarelli did not read it properly off the bat. Wind probably played a factor as it carries over his head, rolls all the way to the wall, and Zeppieri is able to cruise into second base standing. It's a 1-out double for Matteo Zeppi, but pulls back as the pitch misses up and away. Back-to-back first-pitch balls here for Kevin Maurer. First time he's done that today as he sits on his 7th batter. 1-0 pitch into Meyer, and he watches it tail too far down and away. 2 balls and no strikes on an off-speed base right now, keeping tabs on the runner. So it runs the count to 3 balls and no strikes. Meyer on the season, only 11 walks against 27 strikeouts. Next pitch is down and in, and he draws his 12th walk on 4 straight pitches. Kevin Maurer walks his first batter today. And now the catcher, Kyle Cincinnati, will bat. Let's tell you a little bit about Maurer, 5'9", 180-pound freshman from Canton, Georgia. Went to Woodstock High School. The lefty coming in with 9 innings under his belt so far this season. Faces off against the catcher, Cincinnati now. Lefty on righty in the first pitch. Cincinnati swings and gets a piece, rolls it back over to the right side. That's the dugout for Mount St. Mary's. And it's 0-1 to start. Cincinnati on the season, a .200 average in 16 games, 12 starts. No extra base hits yet, 5 runs batted in. Does have a good eye at the plate, though. 11 walks against just 9 strikeouts. Oh, boy, that wind. Here's the 0-1. Too far down and inside. Kept in front by DePerno. And it's 1 ball and 1 strike. So Brown runs in, grabs, throws to first in time for the out. Both runners advance. Even without the hit and run in place, I feel like that still would have been the same outcome just because of how slowly it was hit and to what part of the infield. Eventually just a 5-3 putout that advances both runners. So now 2 in scoring position for the number 9 batter, Jacob Slusarski. Slusarski on the season just a 200 average. That's 1 for 5. First pitch. Misses down and inside, and it's 1-0 to start. No extra base hits. He only has a single. 1 walk and 2 strikeouts in 5 games played. 1-0 pitch to the right base hits now. Mateo Zeppieri's 1-out double here in the second inning was the only other extra base hit that Maurer has now allowed this season. He's never allowed anything more than a double, though. Runner at third tries to draw a little bit of Maurer's attention, but no dice as the pitch comes home low. 3 balls and 1 strike. Zeppieri on the season does have 10 steals and 11 tries. He tries it again, but still no flinch as the next pitch comes too far down and inside for a walk. We'll say the runners at second and third probably affecting Maurer some, especially as he loads the bases here. And it looks like it's going to lead to a mound visit. So an opportunity for Maurer to hopefully get back on track, lock in, and finish out this top of the second inning as Navy trails 1-0. 2 quick outs for Maurer to start the first. Gave up a single to Nolan Book in the first inning. Then Book stole second base. I guess he moved up on a wild pitch. That's still discussion on that. But what wasn't up for discussion was after Bryce Rudisil singled to put Book over to third base is that the tandem executed a strong double steal. Book was able to come home. Bryce Rudisil was thrown out after holding up, getting to second base much too late to just draw the throw over to home. Worked out effectively, and after Navy got a leadoff base hit in the bottom of the first, caught stealing second base, they went down in order in the frame. So now here with the mound visit over, we go back to the top of the lineup for Mount St. Mary's, Sam Grube. Second baseman flew out to left field to start the game. First pitch to him misses down and away, and it's 1-0 to start. Bases loaded, 2 outs here in the top of the second inning as Navy trails 1-0. Last outing for Maurer was the last midweek game for Navy as the 1-0 is bounced over to the second baseman, backhanded by Murtha, and he underhands to Mitchell, covering the bag in front of him at second, and a force out retires Slusarski to end the inning and strand the bases loaded. Good scoreless frame for Kevin Maurer. We go to the bottom of the second. Navy trailing 1-0 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the bottom of the second inning here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy trails Mount St. Mary's 1-0. Matt Sabatas with you on this clear but very breezy Wednesday afternoon in Maryland's capital. It'll be the middle third of the lineup on their way to the plate for Navy here in this frame. Ryan Brown able to work around a leadoff base hit in the bottom of the first inning. A little help from his catcher to catch Mason Ceccarelli stealing. And after a minimum faced, it's the cleanup batter right now. Catcher Ty DiPerno to open things up for Navy here in the second. First pitch. And he watches a slider miss too far outside. It's 1-0 to start on DiPerno. 326 average on the season for Navy's cleanup man. 32 games, 29 starts. He's got 3 doubles, no triples, 3 home runs. He's driven in 22 this season and nearly gets pinched on a pitch inside. Able to just back his knees out in time, and it's quickly 2 balls and no strikes. After DiPerno, it'll be Victor Izquierdo, then Brock Murtha to bat. 3 straight right-handers for Navy as the 2-0 is a late swing and a bouncer on a curve foul over to the left side. 2 balls and 1 strike. 22 RBI on the season for DiPerno, 18 walks, 19 strikeouts. And now the 2-1. Swing and a miss. After an off speed, just a little bit low in the zone, and it's 2 balls and 2 strikes now. DiPerno had a strong weekend against Lehigh and Lafayette. Scored 3 runs, drove 1 in, walked 3 times. The 2-2, and he pops it up foul behind home. That's going to get out. Keep the count even. But the important number for DiPerno over the weekend was 5 for 13. Bump that average up a little bit. Here's another 2-2 pitch. Swinging a high shot out toward right field. Slusarski seems to have it the whole way. And that ball much more high than it was far. Slusarski will pace down a couple of steps and make the grab for the first out here in the top of the second inning. So turn it on to the first baseman now, Victor Izquierdo. Righty on righty still. As the first pitch into Izquierdo is too far inside. 1-0 to start. 252 average on the season for Izquierdo. 33 games, all starts, as he's appeared in every game for Navy this season. 5 doubles, a triple, 2 homers, 24 runs driven in, 13 scored. The 1-0 pitch. Slider misses too far outside, and it's 2 balls and no strikes here. 11 walks, 22 strikeouts on the season for Izquierdo at the plate. As Ryan Brown sets, brings in the next 2-0. Wave and a miss on a curveball down, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. I tell you, the curveball so far for Brown looking pretty clean now on the last few tries. Drops a few inches under the knees, the 2-1. This time, though, the slider misses outside on the right-hander. 3 balls and 1 strike here on Izquierdo. To tell you a little bit more about this starter for Mount St. Mary's, we've got some young guns on the mound today for both teams. 3-1 pitch. And it's outside. First walk of the day for Ryan Brown. Navy gets the tying run on board as they trail 1-0 here in the bottom of the second inning. Now here's Brock Murtha. Second baseman Murtha batting .231 in the year. 30 games, all starts for the Mids. 6 doubles, a triple, 1 homer, 15 runs driven in, 21 scored. He's walked 13 times, struck out 27 times, and the first pitch to him misses up and away. It's a 1-0 to start. It's going to lead to a very quick battery visit with Kyle Cincinnati heading out to chat with Ryan Brown. Brown, a 6 foot even, 205-pound freshman. He's from Maryland. A lot of Maryland natives for the Mount out of Emmitsburg. Ryan Brown himself is from Great Mills. This is his 5th appearance on the season. The longest outing he's had this year is just 3 innings. And coincidentally enough, Kevin Mauer's longest was against Maryland Eastern Shore. So was Ryan Brown's. I'm thinking of the Orioles. They've been playing up and down this season. Here's the 1-0 to Brock Murtha. It misses high. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Here's a pickoff throw over to first. A little bit of a late dive back in for Victor Izquierdo, but no tag put on that one, so no issue for him. Izquierdo stole the only base he's attempted to steal so far this season. They try again. This time it was a much more on-target throw, made it easier for Rudisell to just put a tag on. Still late, as Izquierdo slides in safely. We're waiting on the 2-0 pitch here to Brock Murtha. See if Izquierdo adds to his lead at all. Stays put as the next pitch. Misses too far inside, and it's 3 balls and no strikes here on Murtha. So overall, the season for Ryan Brown looks like this. 4 appearances, 6 1/3 of an inning. 5 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them were earned. He has walked 8 and struck out only 5, the 3-0. Called for strike. Off speed, mostly sits middle. And it's 3 balls and 1 strike here on Murtha. As Navy trails 1-0 here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Brown kicks and deals the next. Called for strike in the lower outside corner. A delayed call, too, from the home plate umpire, Donald O'Shea. Murtha had already tossed the bat, started to unstrap the elbow guard. He's going to have to head back into the box with a little bit of his tail tucked between his legs and a full count now to tangle with. Next pitch in from Brown, and it's just pieced foul over to the right side. Count stays full. Well, obviously, from a player's perspective, they would just like to draw that walk, but if you are able to extend this plate appearance as long as possible and tax the starter from Mount St. Mary's, you could take the small win there, as the next 3-2 pitch is swung on and just fouled. So it sounded like there was no call at first during the swing for Murtha. I thought he had missed the pitch. Murtha's leaving. He thought he struck. I guess they're saying Murtha struck out. I thought I heard foul ball, but he must have just swung and missed and gave himself up as the ball snuck past Cincinnati behind home plate. Victor Izquierdo advanced to second base on the strikeout as it rolled by Cincinnati, but Murtha is out on strikes. So from ahead 3-0, he strikes out swinging, and now Tyler Bouchard will bat. Lefty for Navy. First pitch to him is called for strike. It's 0-1 to start on a high off speed. A little confusing there. Thought I heard foul ball, but I guess I'm wrong, especially since Cincinnati did not catch the ball. It wasn't a foul tip. Here's the 0-1. Another off speed. This one, it's pretty much dead center. It's already 0-2 here on Tyler Bouchard. On the season has a .217 average in 20 games all starts. 3 doubles, no triples, a homer. 9 runs driven in, 11 scored. He's got 12 walks, 14 strikeouts on his ledger. 0-2 pitch, and he swings and misses at an off-speed outside for strike 3. So Navy gets a 1-out walk, get him to second base, but can't do much with it. As we go to the 3rd inning, the Midshipmen still trail 1-0. Navy Radio Network returns in a moment. Today's Navy baseball game is brought to you by the Electrical Alliance. We're wired for collaboration. Matt Sabat is with you here from Max Bishop Stadium as we enter the third inning now between Navy and Mount St. Mary's. It's a 1-0 Mountaineers lead with their 2, 3, and 4 batters set to come to the plate here in this frame. Ty Frito will lead things off. After that, you've got Nolan Book, Bryce Rudisil, Kevin Maurer still on the hill for Navy, and the first pitch home from him is a curveball. Misses a bit too far up and away, and it's 1-0 to start on Ty Frito, who struck out swinging back in the first. Next pitch misses, a bit outside, and it's 2 balls and no strikes all of a sudden on the third baseman. Moving quickly, next pitch, late called strike on a off-speed offering. It seemed pretty far outside the zone, at least from the naked eye. Not sure how much break it might have had as the next pitch, a check swing. Pitch in the same location. They'll appeal to the first base umpire. Craig Alden says Frito held up. Runs the count to 3-1. Moving quickly, Maurer. He's not giving anyone time to breathe right now. But the next pitch misses outside, and it's a leadoff walk. That's the third walk from Maurer so far today. It's more than any other appearance he's had so far this season. Had just 5 total in his 9 innings entering today's game. Now Nolan Book will bat for Mount St. Mary's. Book had a shallow single to right field back in the first inning. First pitch to him. Misses too far down and inside. I tell you, Maurer, he was starting ahead of so many batters. But once he reached the bottom half of the lineup in that second inning, things have gotten a little bit more dangerous for him early on. Here's a pickoff throw over to first, no tag, as Frito is able to scuttle his way back into the base. Frito on the season, 20 steals and 24 tries. Next pitch. Smacked on a line to right center field. This one's down for a knock. It'll send Frito at least to third base. He'll slide in there, and it's a single for Nolan Book as it's picked up in center and brought back into the infield. But you've got them at the corners now for Mount St. Mary's with still no one out. Nolan Book has a 2-hit day. 4 hits total for Mount St. Mary's. One of them came off the bat of Bryce Rudisil. Just squibbed one over to the left side of the infield. Picked up by the pitcher, but still too far for him to make a play on the ball. And now we've got lefty on lefty in a tough spot. First pitch, a show of bunt. Runner at second goes as the pitch misses up and in. We're not going to get a throw over to second base. Navy got burned by the double steal already earlier in this game, so no point in going after Book here. That is his second stolen base of the game, however, because he was the successful man on the front end of the double steal back in the first inning. Here's the 1-0 pitch. Slider. Make it the curve. Too far outside. And the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes here on Rudisil. Here's the next, and he knuckles it in on the hands, foul out of play to the left side. Count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Again, Rudisil came in on this season a .231 average, but 18 RBI. One of the better marks on this team, 2-1. He reaches for it and pokes it to first. Going to be a play at the plate. They throw home, and they're going to get the runner at third in a rundown, but the throw back to third, it goes off the glove of Brown, and just by the bag, it will lead to a run scoring. Frito crosses home plate. Book goes to third, and Rudisil, putting that one into action, is going to run all the way to second. That fielder's choice, a bit of a disaster for Navy once it's all said and done, as that's a 2-0 ball game now. And that's going to be the 39th error for Navy fielding on this season. And it doesn't change the situation at all for the midshipmen. Runners still at second and third with no one out. First pitch. And a liner over towards short, just over the leaping grab of Mitchell. Ethan Flower with an RBI base hit. They're going to hold the runner at third. Flower tries to go to second, and he's going to get tagged out. Excellent read and a toss in on the relay from Mitchell over at shortstop. And that's going to at least help the cause a little bit for Navy, even as Mount St. Mary's takes a 3-0 edge. So Book scores, Rudisil goes to third and stops there, and as Flower picks up the RBI, that makes it a 3-0 game, and again, he's thrown out at second base. Flower's 7th ribby of the season, and now Matteo Zeppieri will bat. First pitch to him misses, little bit low, and it's 1-0 to start. Zeppieri had a one-out double back in the second inning, but he was not able to come around and score. As the next pitch misses just a little bit low. That one seemed like it could have gone at the knees, but still called for ball, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. So top of the third here, it's a 2-run frame for Mount St. Mary's. Navy trailing now 3-0. 2-0 pitch, roped into deep right center field. Ceccarelli's there to run it down, but it should be deep enough to score the runner. Tagging and crossing home plate Rudisil as the base is empty, but Zeppieri does his job. Sacrifice fly to right makes it a 5-0 game, or 4-0 game. Already put down the run. I don't know why I got 5 out of there. It's an RBI for Zeppieri. And it's the second out of the inning as Evan Meyer will step in and bat. 29th RBI on the season for Zeppieri as Meyer swings and misses at the first offering to him. It's 0-1 to start. Meyer walked on 4 pitches back in the second inning. Made his way to second and got stranded there as the 0-1 pitch goes for a quick called strike. Change up on the outside half. As Navy trails 4-0 here in the top of the third. Next pitch. And a curveball. Called strike 3. Good work on the outside half of the plate to the right-hander for Kevin Maurer to finish out the inning with his second strikeout of the day. But Mount St. Mary's does score 3 times, and as we go to the bottom of the third, Navy trails 4-0. We're back in a moment on the Navy Radio Network. Bottom of the third inning here in Annapolis as Navy wants to get the offense going, trailing Mount St. Mary's 4-0. Matt Sabata's with you on this Wednesday afternoon in Maryland's capital. Tristan Rucker will lead things off for the midshipmen. After the designated hitter, you've got Henry Mitchell, the 9 batter, and then back to the top of the lineup for Mason Ceccarelli. Ryan Brown back to work on the hill for Mount St. Mary's. First pitch, and it's an off-speed that misses just a bit too far inside. 1-0 to start. Brown's got 3 strikeouts in the day. He punched out the last 2 batters he saw to finish out the second inning. That was his 36th overall pitch. Here's the 1-0. And a bouncer up the middle. Going to be a tough play. No play for Book at shortstop. Into center field for Rucker. It's a leadoff single for the midshipmen. Their second hit of the day. Both of them coming at the start of an inning, after Ceccarelli singled to open the first in much a similar fashion. Now Henry Mitchell will bat. Switch hitting shortstop steps in as a lefty. 213 average on the season for Mitchell in 32 games, 30 starts. First pitch into him, and he watches a fastball miss just a bit too far outside. 1-0 to start. 6 doubles and a triple for Mitchell, still looking for his first home run. He's driven in 17, scored 11 times. Struck out 26 times this season and walked just 12. Here's a pickoff throw over to first base. That doesn't get much traction. As Tristan Rucker stands over there. Here's the next. And it's smoked foul up the first base line. Well hit, but just a little bit too early on the turn, and the count goes even at a ball and a strike here. Rucker getting his first start of the season, picks up his first base hit of the year. And we'll see if he gets a chance maybe at a stolen base opportunity or not here for the midshipman. As the next pitch to Mitchell. Misses just a bit low, and the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike now. Again, Navy down 4-0. Here's another pickoff throw, still not in time, as Rucker's got enough juice on that slide. Waiting on the 2-1 pitch. Here it is, and too far up and inside, nearly clips Mitchell. Well, the midshipmen have been strong in these midweek matchups this season. Had a tough time with them at points last year, just a 5-4 record when playing off of the weekend, 3-1. And it's down low for ball 4. Second walk of the day issued by Brown, and a pair of leadoff base runners for Navy here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. Going to lead to a mound visit as we get to flip the lineup card around for the midshipmen. Mason Ceccarelli will step into the batter's box in just a couple of seconds. Got a couple of games in the Patriot League today. Won't see 3 of them get going until later. Holy Cross is hosting Yale. Army is hosting Marist. Those will get underway during the 4 o'clock hour. And then at 6, a little bit of Lehigh Valley action between Muhlenberg College and Lehigh. Meanwhile, Lafayette is hosting St. Peter's. That game is already underway. See if we can find the score on that one for you in a couple of seconds. We're going to get a pickoff throw to second before we get back to action. Navy was able to sniff that one out quickly and send Tristan Rucker sliding back in well before the throw reached. Lafayette leading St. Peter's in the top of the 2nd inning, 9-4. They put on all 9 runs in the first. Interesting start there. Here's the first pitch now to Mason Ceccarelli, a little bit too far up and away. When I say a little bit, I mean a lot of it. It's 1-0 to start. Ceccarelli took a full count offering into center field to start the bottom of the first for Navy, but he got caught stealing by a decent margin on a strike him out, throw him out double play. Next pitch, still too far up. It's 2 balls and no strikes. Cincinnati behind home plate faked a throw to second. Looking at the back pick for Rucker, but Rucker still too close to the bag to even actually draw the throw. 2 balls and no strikes. Navy trailing 4-0 here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. 2 on with none out. Next pitch. And too far inside, gets by. Both runners will advance as Cincinnati runs it down. Wild pitch. Puts 2 into scoring position now for Navy. And runs the count to 3-0 here on Mason Ceccarelli. So a huge opportunity presenting itself for the midshipmen after took just a little bit to get the offense going. Brown running into some trouble as well. 3-0, right down the pipe. It's 3 balls and 1 strike here on Mason Ceccarelli. No Adidas on deck for Navy. And now the 3-1. And he bounces it foul over to the right side. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Brown has done a admirable job, too, fighting through a handful of these plate appearances. He's fallen behind to a couple of batters. Had that Brock Murtha plate appearance where he was behind 3-0, and Murtha still struck out. But Navy with a chance here. Second and third, none out. Payoff pitch, and it's lifted foul out of play left side, a low changeup. Count stays full here on Ceccarelli as Brown is starting to see the pitch count rise, too. That was his 43rd offering. Here's the next payoff for Ceccarelli, but first a step off. Great freshman campaign underway here for Mason Ceccarelli. Couple of years making some all-area district teams at Naples, and he smokes one into right field here for a base hit. That's going to bring in 1 run. They'll hold Mitchell at third base, but it's an RBI single for Mason Ceccarelli, and Navy is on the board here in the bottom of the third. It's a 4-1 ball game, still with none out. And now the tying run comes to the plate in Noah Adidas. 2-hit day for Ceccarelli. That's his 5th RBI of the season for the midshipman. And now Noah Adidas steps in with 1 runner in scoring position, 2 men on. And still none out, as the wind still carries out to left field here at Max Bishop Stadium. First pitch, a show of bunt, but it goes foul. Harsh angle over to the right side, and the count starts out at 0-1. Now, Adidas tried to bunt in his first plate appearance, too, and now he's headed back over toward the dugout, chatting with the coaching staff. And it looks like Restano is going to bring in the base runners as well. What's this pause all about? I'm not necessarily positive. They're not having any sort of meeting on the mound. Either way, it's just leading to a brief little chat over in the on-deck circle area for the mids. It's broken up now. Looks like home plate umpire Donald O'Shea said that's enough. And we can get back to action here on this 0-1 count. Adidas tried to bunt in his last plate appearance. Fouled off the 2 offerings he saw and then had to swing away. Struck out swinging on just 3 pitches. Here's another pickoff throw to first. Seeing plenty of pickoffs from Ryan Brown, more so just keeping the Navy runners honest above all else. Only 1 or 2 of them at best have been close. Here's the 0-1 pitch, and it's popped up. Right side of the infield, backing up on it, Grube and Rudisil. Rudisil straddling the foul line. Looks like he was leaning into foul territory. Makes the catch. So that's the first out of this bottom of the third inning as Adidas pops out in foul territory. Still a chance here in Brown. Here's another pickoff throw before we get started with Brown. Still too late of a tag. First and third with 1 out here in the bottom of the third inning. Brown 0 for 1 of the day. He popped out to the third baseman in foul territory to end the first inning. As the first pitch comes home, and it's a curveball. Nice placement inside as it shook Brown off the zone a little bit, but still caught enough of it on the plate to go for strike 1. Brown comes set. Pickoff throw over to first again, still nothing. It looks like there's a little bit of left-handed action over in the bullpen for Mount St. Mary's. If they want to switch over to a lefty, you are getting to a new career high in pitch count for Ryan Brown. As that next pickoff throw over to first bounced in. Brown's collegiate debut, he threw 56 pitches at Mount St. Mary's. don't even have pitch totals for his last two appearances, one against George Washington that saw him face only two batters. Here's the 0-1. That curveball again, but this one sinks too low, and Brown able to read it. And by Brown, I mean Evan Brown. Got to give the first names, and you got the same last name going toe-to-toe here. So Ryan Brown on the mound, Evan Brown in the box. 1-1, and it's fouled back to the screen. 1 ball and 2 strikes here as they bring a few more baseballs into Donald O'Shea. Ryan Brown, he only faced 2 batters against George Washington his last time out. That was a little over a week ago. As the next pitch is a late swing, bounced slowly up to second, double play ball opportunity. Grube takes it, steps on the bag himself for 1, and throws to Rudisil at first in time for the double play. So Navy gets 3 on base. They load the bases, but a double play means they only get 1 run at the end of the inning. But they're on the board as we move to the 4th. Navy trails 4-1 on the Navy Radio Network. Well, today's Navy baseball game has been brought to you by First Command, coaching your financial future every step of the way. Glad you're with us as we move on to the 4th inning here at Max Bishop Stadium. Navy and Mount St. Mary's for a one-off midweek matchup. As the midshipmen trail 4-1, they will make a pitching change. Kevin Maurer is done. His line as it stands, 3 innings, 5 hits, 4 runs, all of them were earned. At least for now. See if there's anything after the game that changes up. But 2 strikeouts, 3 walks, and no home runs for Maurer. Makes way for new right-hander on the mound, number 44, Ryan Bibb. He'll face off against 8-9-1 in the Mount St. Mary's lineup. Quick delivery and an off-speed pitch goes a little bit too far outside on the catcher Kyle Cincinnati, and it's 1-0 to start. Cincinnati, then Jacob Slusarski and Sam Grube to follow. Next pitch called strike. Change up hits the outer half of the plate, and it's already 1-1. Already the 3rd pitch on its way, too far outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. That windup and delivery is one of the fastest I've seen, as the 2-1 pitch is called for strike in the outside half of the plate. Definitely a couple of wide looks on this zone from Donald O'Shea, especially against the right-handers. 2-2. Too far up and inside, and it runs the count full here on Kyle Cincinnati, who grounded out to 3rd base his first time up. And Bibb is going to have to hold up. Looks like Mount St. Mary's is almost stalling a little bit. Their first base coach just had to trot back to the dugout for a moment. I wouldn't blame him in that moment. The way Bibb just quickly tosses the ball, it's fascinating, as the next offering is cracked high and deep but foul over to the right side. That one nearly touched the light pole, but it keeps the count full. Bases empty, no one out here as we get going in the top of the 4th. Navy trailing 4-1. Another payoff pitch and another foul ball lifted over to the right side. Ryan Bibb, a 6'2", 215-pound right-handed sophomore from Mascoutah, Illinois. That's in the Metro East, isn't it? 3-2. Too far up and inside. And Ryan Bibb starts with a walk. Isn't that near McKendree University? I can't recall off the top of my head. It's been a while since I've been in the Metro East. Here's Jacob Slusarski. Runner at first, no one out here as we get going in the top of the fourth inning. First pitch in from Bibb as he slows up a little bit now, having to work with a runner on. Pitch misses too far inside, and it's 1-0 to start. Ryan Bibb on the season, a 2-0 record in 8 appearances. Comes set, fires the 1-0, and it's smoked on a line to center field. 2 hops in front of Bouchard before he picks it up. Single from Slusarski puts 2 aboard here for Mount St. Mary's in the fourth. Cincinnati advances to second base, and now it's back to the top of the lineup for Sam Grube. 9 total innings of work for Ryan Bibb this season. He's allowed 8 runs, all earned on 13 hits. That's an ERA of 8 even, if you can do that math. But he's only walked 3 and struck out 12. Big number for him, though, is the batting average against. He's allowed 5 doubles and a .351 opponent batting average. First pitch here to the top of the lineup, Grube. He shows bunt, pulls back. It's a called strike. So 0-1 to start. And now the 0-1 pitch. Bouncer up the first base line and fair into the corner. Izquierdo was playing away from the bag, and that's going to score at least 1. Cincinnati rounds third and comes home. On into second base sliding. Grube with an RBI double. Makes it a 5-1 ball game. Navy had to scratch and claw to get their first run of the game, and that work is mostly gone now as Jacob Slusarski goes to third base. Grube picks up the ribby. After starting the day 0 for 2, he's now in scoring position. His 5th double of the season and his 25th RBI. Here's Ty Frito. First pitch. The right-hander watches the curve ball go for a called strike. It's 0-1 to start. Handful of strong appearances on the season for Ryan Bibb this season. Next pitch. Called for strike 2. Change up on the outer half of the zone. 0-2. Ty Frito 0 for 1. Struck out in the first, walked and scored in the third. Last 2 outings for Bibb, though, saw him go 2 innings both times, allow 3 hits both times, and allow 1 run both times. Here's the 0-2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Good bounce back plate appearance there for Ryan Bibb. Gets his first strikeout of the day, 3rd overall for Navy pitching. And with 1 gone, Nolan Book comes up to bat. Infield still in for Navy. Failed to mention that against Frito. But with no one out, you want to anticipate that potential play at the plate. Navy did have the error back in the 3rd inning on a play at the plate that led into a rundown. Allowed a run to score. First pitch. Show of bunt. Pulled back on a curveball. Called strike on the outside half of the zone against Book. Fascinating decision for Book to bunt, considering he's 2 for 2 on the day with a couple of stolen bases, a pair of runs. 0-1 pitch. And he drills a liner into center field. Bouchard is going to have to run in, play it on a hop, and holding up at third, eventually sliding in to score Slusarski. But since he was holding up, Sam Grube wasn't able to get a chance to come home from second base. Interesting little set of base running there for Mount St. Mary's. Grube wasn't holding back to tag, but Slusarski was on the chance that Bouchard caught the ball. That keeps Grube at third. It's still an RBI single for Nolan Book, his 3rd hit of the day, 2nd run of the inning, and it is a 6-1 Mount St. Mary's lead. We move on now to Bryce Rudisill. First pitch to him misses low, and it's 1-0 to start. Rudisill has a 1 for 2 day. He reached on a fielder's choice back in the 3rd inning. Next pitch hits him. Slider too far inside. Looks like it got a little bit of the thigh, and that's going to load the bases. As Book goes to second base, Grube is still at third, and Rudisill now at first with Ethan Flower up to the plate. Navy was hoping to get potentially some long innings out of Bibb here, as the first pitch is called a strike to Flower on a lower outside slider. 0-1 to start. Considering they got 2 innings from him in each of his last 2 appearances, he struck out 4 in both outings. The 0-1, line foul right side. It's 0-2 here on Flower, who's 1 for 2 with an RBI single. He got thrown out trying to stretch that single into a double back in the third inning. But here, only 1 out in the top of the fourth. They need Bibb to lock it back in. 0-2. And a floater out towards short. On the line, it's grabbed by Mitchell. Able to track it down, keep every runner still, and record the second out of the inning. Now for Matteo Zeppieri. And we're going to get a mound visit here for the midshipman. They've been able to work the contact, but still in a bit of a bind for now. Looks like we might be getting a pitching change. That is what's going to happen. So Chuck Cristano is out. Looks like we'll get a new hurler on the mound. We'll take a break. Be back in a bit here on the Navy Radio Network. Well, pitching change for Navy here in the top of the fourth inning as the midshipmen are in a bit of a gully right now, trailing 6-1. Mount St. Mary's has scored in 3 of their 4 innings of offense so far, and a Navy pitching staff that has been so strong this year, the best in the Patriot League, is just having a little bit of midweek blues, it seems. But they make a change after Ryan Bibb failed to finish out the fourth inning. Bibb allowed 3 base runners to start the frame, a walk, a single, and an RBI double before striking out Ty Frito. RBI single to Nolan Book, a hit batter to load the bases, and then a line out softly to shortstop by Ethan Flower was the last batter that Ryan Bibb would see. Midshipmen switch over to a lefty to face off against the lefty, Matteo Zeppieri. Ian Brown will climb the hill for his second appearance of the season, second collegiate appearance overall for the freshman. Ryan Bibb's line is not yet done, especially with the bases loaded. All 3 of those runners belong to him, and if they score, they'd be added to his totals. But right now, he's got 2/3 of an inning in the books. He allowed 3 hits and currently 2 runs. Both were earned. He struck out 1 and walked 1. But again, that 2 runs could blossom to 5, depending on what happens with Zeppieri. Lefty on lefty, Matteo Zeppieri's 1 for 1 today with a double and a sac fly RBI. First pitch, and the lefty gets plunked. That drives in a run as the curveball misses much too far inside. Sam Groob scores. Zeppieri goes to first base. Nolan Book goes to third. Bryce Rudisell goes to second. And now here's Evan Meyer, the 9th batter to the plate for Mount St. Mary's here in the 4th. Lefty on righty. Meyer 0 for 1. Walked and struck out. First pitch. Fastball too far outside, and it's 1-0 to start. So again, that first run charged to Bibb. He's up to 3 runs allowed now as Navy trails 7-1 after the bases loaded hit batter. 1-0 pitch. And a fastball misses low. 2 balls and no strikes. Ian Brown, a 5'11", 215-pound left-handed freshman from Ridgefield, Connecticut. Played high school ball at Loomis Chaffee. And again, making just his second collegiate appearance this afternoon. Here's the 2-0. Fastball. Called for strike at the knees. It's 2 balls and 1 strike now. His only other outing was a very strong appearance against Bucknell. Navy did lose that game 8-1 back in late March. 2-1 pitch. Too far inside, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike here on Meyer. But Brown was a bit of a bright spot in that one. Came in, struck out the side. And no issues there. Now the 3-1 offering. Breaking ball, lifted high and foul over to the right side, out of play. Count's going to run full here on Meyer, and with 2 outs, the base is loaded. We're going to get a handful of legs moving before this next pitch comes home. Payoff pitch. And it's looped in the air up the right field line. Izquierdo running it down into foul territory, but it's going to knuckle back toward the field of play outside of Izquierdo's reach. Falls in foul still, but Izquierdo not able to make the grab. So the count stays full. Brown had plenty of Division I teammates during his time at Loomis Chaffee. Aiden Healy was on that squad. Gabriel Tirado over at UConn played for his team as well. 3-2 pitch again, and it's popped up foul. First base side. Izquierdo looks to have a better read on it. Overran it, and as he falls back down onto his keister, he makes the catch. The inning is over. Izquierdo able to recover on that one and stop the bleeding just for now from the midshipmen as they now trail 7-1. A 3-run frame for Mount St. Mary's. As we go to the bottom of the 4th, Navy trails by 6 here on the Navy Radio Network. Back into Max Bishop Stadium as we move on to the bottom of the 4th inning here in Maryland's capital. Navy midshipmen trailing Mount St. Mary's 7-1. New pitcher climbing the hill for the Mount is Caden Kimball, as Ryan Brown is going to be done for the day. Brown not going to factor into the decision in this one, thanks in part to just the of work, but freshman pitched strong for the Mount. 3 innings of work total, allowed just 3 hits and 1 run. It was earned. He struck out 3 batters and walked 2. And as we get going into the bottom of the 4th inning, Navy will send the middle of their lineup to the plate. Ty DePerno will lead things off. A little outcast for his walk-up song, too. I feel like that's past this day and age, but you're going to get all the respect from me for that one. First pitch home, and the right-hander watches off speed. Miss just a bit too far outside, and it's 1-0 to start. After DePerno, it'll be Victor Izquierdo, then Brock Murtha to bat, as Navy trails by 6 here. DePerno flew out to right field his first time up back in the 2nd inning. Next pitch home, too far inside. And it's 2 balls and no strikes now. Caden Kimball, another freshman. We've seen plenty of the young fellas come out and toss today for both teams. As he kicks and fires the next. It's too far outside. 3 balls and no strikes here on DePerno. 6 foot, 170-pound freshman, to be precise. He's from Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. As he makes his next appearance, first here, the 3-0. It misses outside, and a 4-pitch walk to get us started in the bottom of the 4th inning. That's how Kimball starts his day. 3rd overall walk allowed by Mount St. Mary's pitching. It's the 9th outing this season for Kimball. He comes in with 11 innings under his belt. 0-0 record, a 4.09 ERA. In 11 innings, that's 5 earned runs. He has allowed 10 runs total on 15 hits. He's also walked 8 and struck out 9. Only extra base hit he has allowed is a singular home run. Here's Victor Izquierdo. First pitch, and the left-hander delivers it low. 1-0 to start. 5 consecutive pitches outside of the zone for Caden Kimball here to start today's outing. His last appearance started George Washington. Saw him go 3 2/3 of an inning. Pitched effectively around the base runners he had to deal with, as his catcher Cincinnati is going to come out. Kyle talking with Caden on what to do next after 5 consecutive balls to start this appearance. But when he was taking on the Revs, he fired 3 2/3, allowed just 1 run on 3 hits and 3 walks. Did strike out 3 along the way, and then prior to that, he had not allowed an earned run in 4 consecutive outings. 1-0 pitch to Izquierdo. Just at the knees for a called strike. Maybe a bit low, but maybe you give him that one. Who knows after the way his outing started. Izquierdo walked back in the 2nd inning, advanced to second base, but got left there after a couple of strikeouts. Here's a pickoff throw over to first before we get the next toss. Can't imagine Ty DePerno is going to be the kind to pick up a stolen base right now with a lefty on the mound. He does have 5 swipes, but just doesn't feel like his kind of game here. Next pitch, too far inside. A little bit low as well, and the count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Again, a 7-1 ball game here in the bottom of the 4th inning as Navy is trying to keep a strong mark alive this season, the 2-1. Too far inside, 3 balls and 1 strike. The midshipmen have played very well here at home and here in the midweek matchups. Once they've gotten into the swing of things this season. The 3-1 pitch way outside, and it's back-to-back walks here to start the 4th inning. Kimball came into today with 8 walks total in 11 innings. But the walks have been climbing. Gave up those 3 free passes against George Washington. And now 2 against his first 2 batters today. Here's Brock Murtha. First pitch, oh man, the righty watches the curveball for a called strike. Inside half of the plate, it's 0-1 to start. Navy this season has not lost a midweek game. Took down Manhattan, Fordham, Dartmouth, and Coppin State at different points this season. 0-1 pitch. A little bit low. Off speed, runs the count even at a ball and a strike. Murtha struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. Here's the 1-1. Curveball swung on and missed outside. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. But Navy is approaching this midweek game for a few reasons. They just have to approach it a little bit differently, simply because of injuries that they've been dealing with. Jack Kalila is Not in the lineup today. You've got Tristan Rucker making his first start of the season. Here's a floater over toward the shortstop. Nolan Book able to rise up and make the catch on a low-hanging line drive as Murtha is put down. That's the first out of the inning. And now Tyler Bouchard will bat. But if Navy wants to keep that unbeaten streak in the midweek matches alive, they've got to overcome this current 7-1 deficit. So still a little bit of a hill to climb. Still possible as the first pitch into Tyler Bouchard is called for strike. It's the outside half of the plate to the left-hander, and it's 0-1. Bouchard struck out swinging back in the second inning. Here's the next. Too far outside, and it's 1-1 strike. Again, Ryan Brown out of the game for Mount St. Mary's. 3 innings, 3 hits, 1 run for him as Navy trails 7-1. 8 hits for the Mount, only 3 for Navy. Mids have the only error on the board. It did allow a run to score, as the 1-1 pitch is instead a turn back to second base. Kimball just decided to toss it over, I suppose, to avoid the possibility of balking. Because Ty DiPerno was already at the bag before he even threw the ball. Here's the next pitch, swing and a miss. Off speed inside, and it's 1-2 strikes here for Bouchard. Tristan Rucker on deck, singled for his first collegiate hit back in the third inning. Only 1 out here in the fourth. Navy trying to make something happen. Next pitch, too far outside. It's 2-2 strikes, but they've got to make a lot happen. Mount St. Mary sent all 9 to the plate in the top half of this frame. Lefty Kimball sets and brings in the 2-2. Curveball for called strike 3 on the inside half of the plate. Bouchard knew it. Had a tough time reading it as it dropped in. Some of these off speeds have been looking good today from both teams. Well, that's the first real good look of the Caden Kimball curveball today. And it's already the second out of the frame with Tristan Rucker coming up trying to salvage something of it for Navy. Lefty on righty, Rucker waits and swings and misses at the first pitch. Here's the 0-1. Too far outside. It's 1-1 strike. Yeah, there has just been plenty of struggles along the way for Navy just in terms of the injuries. Usual starters that they've got out. Gillilay's gone. You've got Klug, and then, of course, Ethan Manning, who just got the Patriot League Player of the Week award. 1-1 pitch. Too far inside. And it's 1-1. Andrew Manning went 8 for 13. I say Ethan. I don't know why I said Ethan. 2-1. Andrew Manning went 8 for 13 over the weekend against Lehigh and Lafayette. 3 RBI, 3 runs scored. 2-1 pitch. Too far up and in here on Tristan Rucker. And a runs count to 3-1 strike. Rucker scored the only run for Navy back in the third, and he watches a 3-1 pitch here. Missed too far up and away. This is the third walk in the inning here for Caden Kimball. Second outing in a row for him that he's walked that many. Been a fascinating season, it feels, for him, just based on those two facts. He walked 5 batters over his first 3 outings, then none in his next 4, and has now walked 6 in his last 2, including today. First pitch to the number 9 batter. Henry Mitchell is called for strike in the outside half of the plate. It's 0-1 to start. I will say it is dragging along with this game. Fortunately, at the very least, pitchers on all sides have been moving quickly once they get the ball back into their mitt. Next pitch fouled off to the right side by Mitchell, who walked himself back in the 3rd inning. Now the 0-2 pitch. Way too far outside. Get a feigned back pick over to first base, but no one covering the bag, so the count just goes to a ball and 2 strikes. With the bases loaded, 2 outs here in the bottom of the 4th inning, as Navy still trails 7-1. Mids have been playing from behind all day. 1-2 pitch, curveball, called for strike 3. Got him on the outside half. Kimball using it for a couple of big strikeouts here in this 4th inning as Navy strands the bases loaded. 5 punch-outs for Mount St. Mary's pitching through 4. As we go to the 5th, the Mids trail by 6 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the 5th inning here in Annapolis as we continue on with Navy baseball. The Midshipmen trailing Mount St. Mary's 7-1 so far. Navy had a big opportunity in the 4th, but just couldn't pick up on Caden Kimball's curveball. Used it for a couple of strikeouts as the Midshipmen eventually stranded the bases loaded. As we move on to the 5th, looks like Ian Brown is going to stick it out on the mound for the Mids. Came in relief of Ryan Bibb, who was only able to go 2/3 of an inning. Bibb's line did finish with 3 runs allowed. Ian Brown came in, hit a batter with the bases loaded, but forced a pop out in foul territory. And now here in the 5th, he faces the number 8 batter, Kyle Cincinnati, to start. First pitch misses too far outside, and it's 1-0 to start. Cincinnati led off the 4th inning as well. He walked and eventually scored. It's an 0-for-1 day for him so far. Next pitch, too far inside. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. After Cincinnati, it'll be Jacob Slusarski. The next, called strike. Got him on the outside half of the plate. Seen it a couple of times today. That pitch, you hit the changeup well enough. Even if it carries well outside of the plate, get a check swing here on that same offering. Bit high this time. Cincinnati went around. Home plate umpire Donald O'Shea makes the call. Well, we've seen some of those pitches well outside still go for a called strike. Here's the 2-2. Lifted in the air. Up the first base line. It's going to get out of play. I haven't seen too many well-struck fly balls in today's game. As I scan through it, I think there's only one fly out throughout this entire afternoon. Next pitch to Cincinnati misses low, and it's a full count here to kick things off in the 5th inning. Navy down 7-1. Ian Brown brings in the next, and it's smoked on a line to left center field, a base hit. One big hop into the glove of Detus, and that'll hold Cincinnati to just a single. But it's his first hit of the day, and just his 7th of the season. It's a leadoff single. It's the 3rd consecutive inning that Mount St. Mary's has put the leadoff batter on base. Last 2 innings, they did that. They brought him home to score. Here's Jacob Slusarski. First pitch in, and the number 9 batter flinches on a breaking ball down. Start the count out at 1-0. Yeah, we've not seen too many well-struck balls into the air in today's game. The only flyout one from each side have come early. Next pitch too far up and away. And it's 2 balls and no strikes. Sam Grube flew out to start the game, sent it to left field. Mount St. Mary's does not have a flyout since. Navy's only flyout was from Ty DiPerno to start the 2nd inning. He went to right field. As the 2-0 misses too far outside, and the count goes to 3 balls and no strikes. Runner at first, still nobody out. The next, off speed, hits the top half of the zone, and it runs the count to 3-1. Slusarski, 1 for 1 today, walked back in the 2nd inning. When he got forced out at second to end that frame, he singled up the middle and scored in the 4th. Here's the 3-1. Grabs the lower inside corner for a called strike, and the count runs full. Runner at first, nobody out here with Ian Brown on the hill. Next, too far inside, and that's ball 4. First walk allowed by Brown today. That's the 5th for Navy pitching. Sam Gruden will step into the box. And it looks like we're going to get a brief mound visit. No action in the Navy bullpen. Fully, they're getting a right-hander moving, so we'll try to buy him some time right now. Couple games in the Patriot League in action as we've talked about. Holy Cross is getting underway with Yale. They're scoreless in the bottom of the 2nd so far. Navy has a midweek battle with Marist. Looks like that's on the road for the Black Knights. No, they're at home, rather. It's scoreless in the top of the 1st. And then Lafayette is trying to pick up a run rule, potentially, against St. Peter's. Have to tack on a little bit more, but they still lead 15-6 in the bottom of the 4th inning out in Easton. And we talked about it. Lehigh is going to be facing off against Muhlenberg College later at 6 o'clock this evening. So after the walk, it's back to the top of the lineup with Sam Grube. He shows bunt on the first offering, but pulls it back as the pitch misses outside. It's 1-0 to start. Navy's got a right-hander moving in their bullpen if they need to pull Brown and make a swap. Here's the next. Grube shows bunt again. This time, pitch is called for strike on the outside half of the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. 1 for 3 day from the leadoff man for Mount St. Mary's. He flew out to left field in the 1st. Bounced into an inning-ending fielder's choice in the 2nd, and he doubled to drive in a run in the 4th. Came around to score as well. Next pitch, and he lifts it foul out of play to the left side when chasing after a high off-speed. And it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Freshman was a 2-sport athlete back at Cedar Cliff High School in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. 1-2 pitch. A flinch on an off-speed down and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes here. Mount St. Mary's, they've been a middle-of-the-road team in the MAC so far this season. Metro Atlantic's a new conference for them, relatively new, as the 2-2. Misses down and away, runs the count full here. That St. Peter's team that's getting walloped by Lafayette right now, they've got some similar numbers to Mount St. Mary's in a couple of facets. A little bit better average as the 3-2 misses outside for ball 4. That's going to load the bases with no one out here in the top of the 5th, and let's see if Navy decides to make a change. As Ian Brown has walked a pair, given up a base hit, and Mids will bring in someone new. So we'll tell you about the new hurler in just a couple of seconds as Navy trails Mount St. Mary's 7-1 here in the top of the 5th on the Navy Radio Network. Back to Max Bishop Stadium as we continue on with the top of the 5th inning here between Navy and Mount St. Mary's. Another pitching change for the midshipmen as Mountaineers have loaded the bases here with no one out in the top of the 5th inning. A 7-1 Mount St. Mary's lead. Again, Matt Sabat with you this afternoon as Navy is trying to stay undefeated in midweek play. Still a lot of work to do. As Aiden Lucero takes over on the mound, right-handed junior will face off against Ty Frito with the bases loaded and none gone. Ian Brown is done for the day. All 3 runners aboard belong to him. As Lucero is going to try and navigate this danger. First pitch to Frito is too far down and away. Count starts out at 1-0. Brown only had 1/3 of an inning at the end of the day. He retired the final batter he saw in the 4th. 1-0. A little too high, and it's 2 balls and no strikes. Brown gave up a base hit. Currently, no runs. He did allow an inherited runner to score. He didn't strike anyone out and walked 2. Here's the 2-0. Off speed, misses high, and it's quickly 3 balls and no strikes on Ty Frito, who's 0 for 2 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. Aiden Lucero inheriting 3 runners. The 3-0 pitch is a called strike on an off-speed down and away. 3-1. Lucero, a 6'1", 200-pound right-handed junior from Huntington Beach, California. Fires the 3-1, and it's swung on and pieced foul into the mid of the catcher. It's 3 balls and 2 strikes now. Big chance for Lucero to bounce back in this plate appearance after falling behind 3-0. 7th appearance on the season for Lucero. The 3-2, grounded to third, a chance for a double play. They go home for the first, turned back to first, not in time, safe there, but they did get the force at home plate, retiring Cincinnati. A 5-2 put out as the other runners advance on the choice. So Slusarski to third, Grube to second, And Frito goes to first base as Nolan Book will step up with the bases still loaded, now 1 out. First pitch in from Lucero, and the right-hander Book pushes it foul over to the right side, out of play, 0-1. 3 for 3 day from Nolan Book. He has singled in all 3 trips. To right field in the first, up the middle in the third and fourth innings. He scored in the first and third, drove in a run in the fourth. Next pitch, a slider, misses too far outside. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. On the season for Navy, Aiden Lucero has 10 2/3 innings under his belt. My goodness, you hear that wind whipping. 0-0 record, a 7.59 ERA as the next pitch misses outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Goodness. 16 hits in 10 2/3 against Lucero, 10 runs, 9 earned. He's only walked 2, and he's only struck out 1. Here's a bouncing ball to second, bobbled a little bit by Murtha. He's able to get it to short, but that's going to be it as Grube goes to third and Slusarski scores. It's a fielder's choice for Book that eliminates Frito at second base and gives Mount St. Mary's their 8th run of the game. It's an 8-1 contest now. So Book reaches first base. Second RBI of the day for him. He's at 31. And now Bryce Rudisill will bat. First pitch. He watches off speed, called for strike in the upper outside corner. It's 0-1 to start. That run charged to Ian Brown. Technically, because of the fielder's choices all around, as the next pitch is swung on and missed. Half-hearted wave down and away, and Nolan Book is going to try and pull a delayed steal again. He trots into second base. That was the slowest stolen base I think I've ever seen, simply because he was just trying to bait the throw to induce a potential double steal. Didn't get that throw, and now the 0-2 pitch is too far outside. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Mount St. Mary's pulled off the double steal successfully in the first inning, and since then, Navy has not bit on that front end, or I guess you could say the back end of the double steal, with the runner going to second. 1-2 pitch here, hits the batter. Slider too far down and inside as it gets Rudisill. That's the second time he's been nicked by one today, and it will reload the bases. So far, because of the fielder's choices, the runners at second and third still belong to Ian Brown, even though the runner at second, Nolan Book, was one that Lucero faced. Here's the first pitch to Ethan Flower, a check swing, called for strike on a slider, low and away. It's 0-1 to start here, as Navy trails 8-1 here in the top of the 5th. Bases loaded, 2 away, next offering. Another check swing, still on the slider, this time too far outside, and on appeal over to first base. They're going to say Flower held up in time. Count goes to a ball and a strike now. 1 for 3 day for Ethan Flower. He grounded out in the second. Nicks one foul here. Back to the screen. It's 1-2. Flower drove in a run in the third with a base hit, but he got thrown out trying to extend it. And then he lined out softly to shortstop in the 4th inning. Here in the 5th, he's got bases loaded, 2 outs, 1-2 pitch. Off speed, too far outside. And the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. We're going to try for a steal of home. And the throw back to the plate is in time as Sam Grube is going to get tagged out. Mount St. Mary's tried to sneak one across the plate and get to 9 runs, but Navy was able to sniff it out and put out the fire. But they do score one more here in the 5th, and as we go to the bottom of the frame, halfway home, Navy trails 8-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. Bottom of the fifth inning here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy is trying to get back on track offensively, trailing Mount St. Mary's 8-1. Matt Sabatas with you as the top of the Navy lineup will step into the box. First pitch to Mason Ceccarelli is called for strike. A little bit outside, but we've been seeing some wide strike calls so far in this game. Donald O'Shea at least being consistent on them at points. So one pitch is too far outside, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike here on Ceccarelli. Caden Kimball is back to work on the mound for Mount St. Mary's. Walked the bases loaded in the fourth, but still got out of it without a run across. 1-1. Too far outside, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Ceccarelli has 2 of the 3 hits so far today for Navy, and he's driven in the only run. He's not been able to get to second base himself for a couple of reasons. 2-1 pitch. Flinch on an off-speed, just too far outside. Now that one has me confused simply because we saw a pitch further outside called for strike at the start of the plate appearance. Either way, it runs the count to 3-1, and the next is called for strike under the knees of Ceccarelli, and for the second time today, Navy's misread one to the point where they've thrown the bat back to the dugout thinking that they've had ball 4, and instead have to get it back from the team on deck. Now the payoff pitch, 3-2, is a curveball for called strike 3. Happened the last time, too, back in the, I want to say it was the 6th inning. Or the 6th inning, we're in the 5th inning. The 2nd inning when the number 6 batter, Brock Murtha, I thought he drew ball 4, ended up striking out looking. That is the 3rd strikeout for Caden Kimball and the 6th overall for Mount St. Mary's pitching. Navy really felt like they got burned on that plate appearance in the strike zone. Here's Ditas, first pitch, too far outside. And the off-speed gets us started at 1-0. Wind starting to pick up straight away to center field now. It was moving pretty harshly out to left and almost coming in from right with how much of an angle it was at. 1-0 pitch. Off speed, making the curveball too far up and away, and the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes. Bases empty, 1 away here in the bottom of the 5th inning as Navy trails by 7. The 2-0 pitch. Nicked foul off of home plate. Just ahead of the changeup, a little high of it as well as it came in toward the knees. 2 balls and 1 strikes on Ditas, who struck out swinging back in the 1st inning. Popped out to first base in foul territory in the 3rd. 2-1, curveball up and away. And it's 3 balls and 1 strike here on Ditas. Can't see too long of an outing from Caden Kimball today, considering he's already up to 33 pitches. 3-1 is a curveball for called strike. But the accuracy of his curveball and the way that it's been freezing these Navy batters has not left him wanting. 3-2 pitches, swung on and missed for strike 3. Used it again, this time took it lower than usual. And he struck out each of the last 3 batters he's seen, using that curveball all throughout. So 4 punch-outs for Kimball, 7 so far for Mount St. Mary's pitching, and now here's Evan Brown. First pitch in, and Brown watches it miss too far up and away. Count starts out at 1-0. 0 for 2 day from Evan Brown. He popped out to third base in foul territory, ending the 1st inning. He ended the 3rd inning when he hit into a double play. 1-0. Bouncer up the third base line. That's going to be a foul ball. It was riding the line the whole way, but when Ty Frito picked it up, he was just across the bag, so an easy call to make from the third base umpire. Does run the count even at a ball and a strike here. You speak of the double plays, this has been a strong double play turning Mount St. Mary's team. They've whipped off 47 of them this season in their 30-plus games. 1-1. And a bouncer up towards short this time, scooping it on 2 hops. Nolan Book throws to first in time for a 1-2-3 5th inning. Navy goes down in order as they trail 8-1. On to the 6th here on the Navy Radio Network. Glad you're joining us. Today's Navy baseball game has been brought to you by Iron Rooster, home of the legendary Roost Start. That's Sabatas with you from Max Bishop Stadium as we move on to the sixth inning here between Navy and Mount St. Mary's. Mids in a big hole, needing a clean inning to try and get back on track. The Mount has scored in every inning except for the second so far. 1 in the first, 3 in the third, 3 in the fourth, and 1 in the fifth, as they trail 8-1. Aiden Lucero will continue on the mound for Navy as Ethan Flower returns to the batter's box. First pitch to him is called for strike in the outside half of the plate. It's 0-1 to start. Flower had a 2-2 count with the bases loaded in the top of the fifth inning, but Mount St. Mary's was getting very adventurous as the 0-1 pitch misses down and away. It's 1-1. Could call it risky, but they were up 8-1, so it doesn't really hurt. Sam Grube tried to steal home on the throw back to the pitcher. 1-1 pitch is called for strike in the outside half of the plate. It's 1-2. Navy was quick to notice, alerted Lucero. He got it back to DePerno in time. And the stolen base attempt was foiled as the 1-2 is swung on and missed down for strike 3. Aiden Lucero picks up his first strikeout of the day, 4th for Navy pitching. And that is the first time since the second inning that the midshipman pitching staff has put down the first batter of a frame. Hopefully a good sign of things to come over the next couple of innings as Matteo Zeppieri will step in. He's had an interesting day at the plate. First pitch to him misses too far inside, and it's 1-0 to start. Zeppieri has not been hit by a pitch at all this season, but he got nicked by one with the bases loaded in the fourth. That was his last time up. As the next pitch misses outside, it's 2-0. He's only got one at-bat today, doubled in the second inning and got stranded at third base. 2-0 pitch. And a smoked shot up the first base line, fair into the corner. Kicks off of the mound in the Mount St. Mary's bullpen. Turning the corner at first, Zeppieri will slide into second base safely. After Ceccarelli did have a tough time grabbing it at first. Still an easy double for Zeppieri, his second of the game. Puts a runner into scoring position for Mount St. Mary's with only one out here in the frame. 8th double of the season for Zeppieri. That ball left the bat at 107 miles an hour. We've not seen too many hot shot strikes over the course of this game. It's been mostly bloops, flares, and bops here and there. It was one of the best hit balls we've seen all afternoon. Here's Evan Meyer. First pitch misses low, and it's 1-0 to start. Wind starting to carry back to where it normally was at the start of this game. Was pushing out to center for the last inning or so. 1-1. A line shot into center field, a base hit. Are they going to send in Zeppieri? They will. Bouchard grabs it, gathers, has a tough time transferring, and can't get it to the infield in time as Zeppieri scores. RBI single for Evan Meyer makes it a 9-1 affair here in the top of the sixth inning. Mount St. Mary's is having a time.
Now batting number 2, Kyle Cincinnati.
Kyle Cincinnati will bat now for Meyer. That is just his 8th RBI on the season after starting the day 0 for 2. And we're going to get a pickoff as we've got a delayed steal, and now in a rundown. The throw back to first, and Meyer practically barrels through Izquierdo. Victor able to apply the tag, though, as the pickoff caught stealing goes, if I'm not mistaken on that, 1-3-6-3. So that's going to be the second out of the inning for Navy. It clears the bases. And now we finally get the first pitch into Kyle Cincinnati. It misses too far down and away. And the count starts out at 1-0. Got that wrong. It's just a 1-6-3 as Lucero just went straight to Mitchell. And here's a flare over to shortstop. Mitchell able to get down on one knee, scoop it out of the air, and end the inning. A fast frame overall, but Mount St. Mary's does get another run across and an RBI single from Evan Meyer. We go to the bottom of the sixth. Navy trailing 9-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the bottom of the sixth here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy trails by 8. Mount St. Mary's will make another pitching change as the midshipmen bring out a heart of the lineup to try and face off against Max McCrary. Caden Kimball is done. Interesting outing started, but he finished it out well. Eventually 2 scoreless innings of work for Kimball. He didn't allow a hit. Struck out 4 batters and walked 3. And now Max McCrary will climb the hill for the Mount. Faces off against Ty DePerno to start. Catcher walked his last time up, and the submarine hurler fires. First pitch is tapped right back to the hill. McCrary is going to have to run to it, scoop, and take a long underhand over to first base. Gets it there in time to retire DePerno, and already 1 gone here in the 6th. As Victor Izquierdo will step up to bat. Izquierdo has walked in both of his plate appearances today. First pitch, and he watches off speed, missed too far inside. Count starts out at 1-0. Navy trailing by 8. 11 hits for Mount St. Mary's, 3 for the Mids as they've got just 1 run. Max McCrary, a 6'3", 210-pound right-handed junior from Norfolk. First name is Maximus. Not just Max, not Maxwell, Maximus. He brings in the 1-0. And it's a called strike on the outside half, 1-1. So far this season, he's made 9 appearances, a 1-2 record, a 7.07 ERA in 14 innings. As the next pitch is pieced foul between the legs of Izquierdo and back to the screen. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes now. In those 14 innings, he's allowed 21 hits, 15 total runs, 11 earned. He's walked 5, struck out 8, and given up a little bit of power. 6 doubles and a home run, 1-2 pitch. Too far down. There's 2 balls and 2 strikes here on Izquierdo. Navy getting a little bit of action in their bullpen. A left-hander warming. Potentially replace Aiden Lucero after a quick 6th inning. Did see him allow a run. Next pitch misses down low to Izquierdo, and it runs the count full after he was behind a ball and 2 strikes. McCrary coming off of an outing at George Washington as the next pitch is tapped foul, caught by the catcher Cincinnati off of a bounce. Interesting little squib there as the count stays full. McCrary tossed an inning and a 3rd against the Revolutionaries. Gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, both earned. Didn't walk anyone, didn't strike anyone out. Here's another payoff pitch. Flinched, a called strike 3 anyway on the lower outside corner. Navy having a tough time reading the zone at points today from Donald O'Shea. Can't blame them too much as it stands anyway. That is the 8th time that Navy has struck out. First punch out for McCrary. And the second out of this 6th inning. As Brock Murtha will bat. That's the first time Izquierdo has been put down today. Murtha is 0 for 2. First pitch. And he watches the sidearm delivery, miss a bit low. So 1-0 to start. Murtha struck out swinging back in the 2nd inning. Lined out softly to the shortstop back in the 4th. Here's the 1-0. Swing and a miss, off speed high, and it's 1-1. Both sides probably dipping plenty into their bullpen as this game just progresses along. McCrary doesn't have too many long outings under his belt this season. 1-1. Swing and a miss. Another off speed, this one low. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Again, an inning and a 3rd against George Washington, but prior to his last 3 outings combined, he only pitched 1 inning. Part of that was just because he was getting roughed up. 1-2 pitch, and it's bounced up the 3rd base line. That's fair. It will roll out toward the wall. Extra base hit incoming for Brock Murtha as it's picked up in the corner. Murtha into second base standing with a 2-out double, and Navy trying to get some action as their first base hit since Mason Ceccarelli's RBI single all the way back in the 3rd inning. Seventh double of the season for Murtha. And with a runner in scoring position, Tyler Bouchard will try and drive him in. First game back from injury for Bouchard as well. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts. Again, this injury bug has been biting Navy recently. First pitch. And he watches a called strike. Change up hits the bottom half of the plate, and it's 0-1 to start. Bouchard went down swinging to end the 2nd inning. He went down looking in the 4th. As they play him a little bit shifted on the right side, not too much, 0-1. And he swings and misses on an off-speed outside. It's 0-2. More so, you've just got second base playing relatively deep. Wind starting to carry out more succinctly to left field, as we've got it in a couple of different directions today. Here's the 0-2. Too far outside. A ball and 2 strikes as McCrary couldn't get Bouchard to chase. Last 2 outings for McCrary, you could say last 3 outings. He has gotten roughed up. An inning and 2/3 combined, he's given up 6 earned. 1-2. Called strike 3 on the inside half. That curveball from multiple different Mount St. Mary's pitchers has been giving Navy fits today as they strand a runner at second base. We go to the 7th. Navy trailing 9-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. I'd like to remind you today's Navy baseball game has been brought to you by Main and Market Catering, Cafe and Bakery, a preferred caterer of Navy athletics, making life delicious. We enter the 7th inning here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy trails Mount St. Mary's 9-1. One of the best pitching staffs in the Patriot League this season has been having just a tougher day than usual as the midshipmen have gone to the bullpen for the 4th time now, pulling John Carroll. Aiden Lucero's day is done, fired 2 innings. Gave up 2 hits and a run with a strikeout, no walks. John Carroll takes over to face off against the number 9 batter, Jacob Slusarski. First pitch. This is just a bit down and away, and the right-hander starts ahead, 1 ball and no strikes. Right fielder Slusarski has not been put out yet today, as the next is called for strike on the outside half of the plate. It's 1-1. Walked in the 2nd, singled and scored in the 4th, walked and scored in the 5th. Here's the next, a bouncing ball over toward 3rd. Holding back and then running in, Brown scoops it on the run. Throws to first in time for the out. 5-3 gets us started here in the top of the 7th. And Navy came into today best record and best ERA in the Patriot League. The 18-15 mark and the 4.84 earned run average was a handful of ticks ahead of second best Army. First pitch in here to the leadoff man, Sam Grube. Misses down and away. It's 1-0 to start. Navy does have more innings under their belt this season as well as a team. 1-0. Too far outside. It's 2-0 on Grube, who's 1 for 3 on the day with an RBI double and a walk. He got thrown out at home to end the 5th inning, trying to swipe the bag. Here's the 2-0. A little bit too high. And it's 3 balls and no strikes on Grube, but the base is empty and 1 out here in this 9-1 game, top of the 7th at Max Bishop Stadium. John Carroll, another freshman, out on the hill for Navy today. Fires the 3-0, and it's called for strike at the knees. 3-1. 5'9", 170-pound lefty from Rockville Center, New York, to Chaminade High School. It makes his 5th collegiate appearance today. 3-1. Line drive out toward right center. That's going to get over the head of Murtha at second and fall in for a base hit. Hard round to first base for Grube, but Navy's not going to let him go for second. It's a 1-out single for Sam Grube, his 2nd hit of the day. Mount St. Mary's 12th of the afternoon. And it brings Ty Frito up to the plate. John Carroll has had a couple of good outings once the Patriot League season started. First pitch here, and it's lifted foul out of play by Frito. Over to the right side, nothing in 1 to start. Frito is 0 for 3 with a walk and 2 strikeouts. He's scored 1 run. Carroll 0-0 in 4 outings, an 8.31 ERA. That's 4 1/3 innings, 4 runs. Next pitch, curveball, misses too high, and it's 1 ball and 1 strike. But all 4 of those runs came in his first 2 outings of the year. 1 run against Air Force, 3 runs at Fordham. Once the Patriot League season started, he's been a shutdown reliever. 1-1. Too far outside, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Tossed 2 innings at Holy Cross in a 9-0 Navy loss, but pitched scoreless. No walks or strikeouts, allowed 2 hits. 2-1 pitch here. Lifted in the air, foul. On the first base side, it's going to get out of play, and the count goes even at 2. And then over the weekend against Lafayette, in Navy's 11-5 loss, Carroll came in, tossed a scoreless inning with a strikeout and just a double allowed. Another 2-2. Knuckled in the air out toward right field. Chuccarelli hesitating under it, now making a last-ditch push over to his right side, makes the catch. Back to first base goes Grube. If I'm not mistaken, that is only the 2nd flyout we've seen from Mount St. Mary's today. It is.
Now batting number 10, Nolan.
Nope, 3rd. There was the sacrifice fly from Matteo Zeppieri back in the 3rd inning. So only 3 flyouts total. It's been a lot of contact, a lot of ground-heavy contact for the Mount today. Now here's Nolan Book. He's had a strong performance. Before we get that first pitch, we get a pickoff throw over to first base from the left-hander Carroll. Sam Grube on the season. Does have 16 steals and 23 tries, but he stays put as this next offering is slapped foul up the right side. Gonna hit off the net just in front of the Mount St. Mary's bullpen, and this plate appearance, Book has reached safely in all 4 plate appearances today. Singled and scored in the 1st, singled and scored in the 3rd. Drove in a run with a base hit in the 4th. As the next pitch misses outside, it's 1-1. Bounced into a fielder's choice that brought in a run in the 5th inning. He reached safely, stole second base in that frame as well. He's got 3 steals on the books today. Maybe trying to keep him from getting on base. The 1-1, another line drive foul, still to the right side, as the count goes to a ball and 2 strikes. Navy down 9-1 here in the top of the 7th inning. Mids do have a little bit of action in their bullpen, but not throwing from the mound yet, just a right-hander playing long toss. 1-2 pitch. Curveball just a bit too high, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes. 4 strikeouts today for Navy pitching. Only 1 of them has been backwards. Runner at first, 2 away, as Carroll sets. The pitch. Lifted up the first base line again. Chuccarelli is running on it, but it's just going to get out of his reach and across the foul line. tough read as he was approaching the bullpen mound, which is in the field of play here at Max Bishop Stadium. So had to slow down once he realized that it was probably going to be a little bit too difficult, especially since he could tell it was foul. Does extend the plate appearance, though, as count stays even at 2. Lefty Carroll sets, and the next pitch as the runner takes off. It's bounced off of home plate and behind the batting circle. Mount St. Mary's obviously wants to see if they can score a couple of more runs in this setting, see if they can take that 10-run threshold and maybe put together a scoreless bottom of the 7th. Who knows? 2-2. Grounded to short. That's not going to bring anything in as Mitchell picks it up and throws to Murtha over at second for the force. Scoreless 7th inning for the midshipmen. Perfect job there for John Carroll out of the pen. Time to stretch here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy trails 9-1 on the Navy Radio Network. Well, fans, we'd like to remind you that today's Navy baseball game has been brought to you by Annapolis and Always Ice Cream Company. Send smiles across miles with the Always Ice Cream Company. So we move on to the bottom of the 7th inning here at Max Bishop Stadium. Matt Sabatis with you. Navy trailing Mount St. Mary's 9-1, but the Mids starting to cruise a little bit more so, at least on the pitching side of things. Scoreless top of the 7th from John Carroll out of the pen, and Navy would like to turn things back into their favor, hopefully offensively, as the first pitch into Tristan Rucker misses too far down, and the count starts out at 1-0. Side-arming right-hander Max McCrary is back on the hill for Mount St. Mary's here in this 7th after a scoreless 6th. Next pitch for him is too far outside, and it's 2-0. Tristan Rucker singled up the middle back in the 3rd inning and scored. First collegiate hit, and so far the only run of the day for Navy, as the 2-0 is lined out to left center, a base hit. 2-hit day for Tristan Rucker. First start that he's been able to pick up here in a Navy uniform, and he's making the most of it. Really glad to see. And it's a leadoff base runner for Navy. Fourth time, they've been able to pull that off in the 7 innings so far. They just got to capitalize. Rucker's the only one that's been able to come home and score after leading off on base. Henry Mitchell up to the plate now. He walked back in the 3rd inning, struck out looking in the 4th. First pitch. And the switch hitter watches it miss down and away. Count starts out at 1-0. A lot of simple just base knocks throughout the course of this game as the 1-0 is lined out to left. Zeppieri with a good jump on it. He's able to run it down and make the catch just above the cap. Head back to the top of the lineup card for Mason Ceccarelli. Out of the 12 hits for Mount St. Mary's today, only 3 of them have been extra bases, and all 3 have been doubles to right field. 2 of them by Matteo Zeppieri, 1 by Sam Grube. Navy's 4 hits have all been singles. Make that 5 hits, but still. Oh, no, Brock Murtha has the double back in the 6th inning. I've already screwed up the stat. First pitch here into Ceccarelli, misses down low. It's 1-0 to start. So let's just all rewind. Why don't we? Out of the 5 hits for Navy, 1 has been a double. Here's a back pick over to first on a pitch outside. Throw bounces in from Cincinnati, so no play, and the count goes to 2 balls and no strikes on Mason Ceccarelli, who's got 2 of the 5 hits for Navy today. RBI single back in the 3rd inning. He struck out looking back in the 5th after thinking he had drawn a 3-1 walk. Eventually it ran full on a called strike 2, and he struck out looking on the curveball from Caden Kimball. It was a good curveball. But right now he watches a pitch outside from Max McCrary. This righty having a bit of a tough time with the lefty Ceccarelli. 3 balls and no strikes. Next pitch outside, and it's a 4-pitch walk. So you'll put 2 on for Navy here in the 7th inning. First walk allowed by Caden Kimball. That is the 6th given up by Mount St. Mary's pitching so far today. And it brings Noah Ditas up to the plate. Try and drive one, maybe both in. Who knows? Ditas 0 for 3 on the day. A couple of strikeouts. He popped out to first in foul territory in the 3rd. First pitch, and he bounces it off of home plate, sends it back to the netting. Count starts out at 0-1. Here's the 0-1. And it's swung on and missed down. Count goes to 0-2. For a Wednesday game starting at 3 o'clock, glad to see the number of fans that were able to turn out for this one, especially in the weather conditions. Here's a ground ball up the middle, off the mound, tough scoop, grabbed on an angle by Grube. He's able to tap the bag for 1 and throw to first base in time for 2. Very tricky 4 unassisted 3 double play, but it does end the inning as Navy is unable to bring anyone across. We go to the 8th. Midshipmen trail 9-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the 8th inning here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy still having a tough time getting the offense into rhythm. They've had runners into scoring position the last 2 innings, but stranded them both times, and they trail Mount St. Mary's 9-1. John Carroll will return to the mound for the Midshipmen here in the 8th. Put together a scoreless 7th inning. It was the first scoreless inning for Navy pitching since the 2nd. Need to keep it as scoreless as possible for now. It's a tight line to walk for Carroll, considering possibility of a run rule, as you've got the middle of the lineup set to bat here for Mount St. Mary's in the 8th. Bryce Rudisil will open it up. He's been on base 4 times today. First pitch, and he watches a called strike. Hits the bottom half of the zone, and it's 0-1 to start. Rudisil's been on base 4 times, but he's only hit the ball to the pitcher. 0-1 pitch. Grounded up the first base line foul, and it's 0-2. Rudisil singled to the pitcher in the 1st inning. It was just a little squib that was outside of the reach of Kevin Maurer, today's starter. reached on fielder's choice to the pitcher in the third, and he's been hit by pitches in back-to-back plate appearances. Next offering still fouled on a grounder up to the first baseman. So the count stays. After Rudisil, it'll be the DH Ethan Flower, then Matteo Zeppieri. Here's the 0-2. Too far outside. It's 1-0 to start. I said it earlier. Good to see the amount of turnout for a Wednesday afternoon game. 3 o'clock start with these wind conditions, this wind chill, as the 1-2 misses down and away. It's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Fans sticking through it, Little League team sticking through it. Even a puppy in the stands with a Navy hoodie on. 2-2. Got him for a called strike 3. Breaking ball on the outside half of the plate. First strikeout for John Carroll. Great way to open up this 8th inning. That's the 5th punch out for Navy pitching so far today. It's only the 2nd called strike 3, and now Ethan Flower will bat. Looks like we're going to get a pinch hitter for Mount St. Mary's as well, as Flower is out of the game. You're going to get Logan Yee. Y-I, that's how you say the last name, Yee. It's the first pitch to him. Is called strike on the outside half of the plate. Yee is 6'4", 205-pound grad student, right-hander out of Aldie, Virginia. Bounces it over to the shortstop. Mitchell gloves, charges a throw over to first base in time. And there's already 2 away here from John Carroll. But just as the designated hitter, got to assume it's a straight switch for Yee. And since it's the 8th inning, we might never see him again in this game. Here's Matteo Zeppieri. Now with 2 outs in the top of the frame, Navy down 9-1. First pitch to the left-hander. It's Zeppieri. Drills one deep out to right field. Ceccarelli running back. Has to watch it bounce on the warning track just over his head. Zeppieri's going to get into second base sliding with his 3rd double of the day. A 2-out knock. Left the bat at 102 miles an hour. He has had the best read of the ball out of anyone on the field this afternoon. He has hit half as many doubles in this single game than he had all season. Came in with 6. He's going to leave this game with 9. Fascinating afternoon for the left fielder. Now Evan Meyer will bat. First pitch, and he nubs it slowly over to the right side. Deep sliding grab by Murtha. Lost it off the glove, but recovers in time to sidearm from a knee to first base and finish out the inning. Back-to-back scoreless frames for John Carroll. We go to the bottom of the 8th. Navy still trailing 9-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the bottom of the 8th inning here at Max Bishop Stadium, as the Navy offense only has 6 outs left to try and really get back into rhythm. They trail 9-1, 5 hits against Mount St. Mary's 13. Mids in danger of falling to 18-16 on the season if they can't turn it around. Facing off against Max McCrary for the 3rd consecutive inning. Evan Brown will lead things off, and the first pitch into the right-hander comes in just a tad bit low. It's 1-0 to start. Brown so far is the only the only Navy batter rather to have not faced off against the Mount St. Mary's side-arming right-hander. Next pitch in, and Brown watches it for called strike at the knees. 1-1. After Brown, it'll be tied to Perno and Victor Izquierdo. Here's the 1-1. Half swing. I think he went around. That's not Evan Brown, my mistake. You get the 8s and the 9s mixed up as it's actually Leo Mangamelli. Next pitch, and Mangamelli swings. Got a piece. Looks like the catcher held on. Cincinnati able to keep the mid on it, and Mangamelli strikes out swinging. So that is how the inning starts for Navy. And now tied to Perno will step into the box. You got number 9, Evan Brown, and number 8, Leo Mangamelli. Threw me off. And now we follow it up with another pinch hitter. Wasn't tied to Perno. It's going to be number 35, Max McCummins. The junior out of Greensboro is going to get plunked by one. Oh boy, we are off and running here in the 8th inning. As Navy throws in back-to-back pinch hitters. They're pulling out the entire bench, it seems, right now, as Victor Izquierdo will not step up to the plate either. It'll be Brendan Munnelly. First pitch in, and the right-hander Munnelly watches it miss too far inside. 1-0 to start. And if you can believe it or not, Navy's got someone else on deck that is not Brock Murtha either. You've got Eric's son coming into bat afterwards. When we get to the top of the 9th inning, it's just going to be a scramble to figure out all the defensive changes. I worry for myself, but I worry even more for the sports information staff here in the press box. Here's the 2-0 pitch to Munnelly. He's going to foul it off over to the left side. Count goes to 2 balls and 1 strike. Just the second game for Munnelly this season. Only his second plate appearance. He struck out his only other time at the plate for the Mids so far this year. Here's the 2-1. Called strike on the inside half of the plate. Count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes here. So Izquierdo's day ends with an 0 for 1 performance. He did walk twice and struck out. 2-2. A flinch. Called for ball. Too far inside, and it runs the count full. Next pitch, knuckled, just foul still. Runner at first, 1 away here in the bottom of the 8th inning. Navy trailing 9-1 as they empty the bench, 3-2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Breaking ball down and inside, 2 in the 8th inning for Max McCrary. 9 total punch-outs for Mount St. Mary's pitching. And now Eric's son will bat. Son, a 6'2", 215-pound right-handed junior from Sherman Oaks. Righty on righty here with 2 gone. First pitch, he watches it for called strike in the outer half of the zone. 0-1 to start. 4th game of the year for Son. Hasn't gotten to the plate too often, but he's 1 for 2. Has a stolen base under his belt as well as he watches the next miss a little bit too low on the curve. 1 ball and 1 strike now. One. Curveball. Called for strike on the inside half of the plate. It's 1 ball and 2 strikes now. Well, now, since we're in the bottom of the 8th inning, run rule is not an option anymore for Mount St. Mary's. Navy's going to get a chance no matter what, as the 1-2 is swung on and missed inside for strike 3. So Navy brings in a couple of swaps, but can't get much out of it. Hits batter, but 3 strikeouts in the frame for Max McCrary. We go to the 9th with the Mids trailing 9-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. Move on to the 9th inning here in Annapolis as Navy trails Mount St. Mary's 9-1. Got a couple of defensive changes to tell you about for the midshipmen after what was a fancy little bottom of the 8th inning, at least offensively, for the Mids. You've got new catcher Max McCommons. You've got a new third baseman, new second baseman, and a new first baseman. You've got Leo Mangamelli at third base, Eric Sun at second base, and Brendan Munnelly at first. So, fortunately, at the very least, since Navy swapped out 4 different batters in that bottom of the 8th inning, they kept them in the same positions as the guys that they replaced in the batting lineup. So, that takes a little bit of a headache out of what just transpired. Navy also did make a pitching change, too, as Owen Geiger takes over on the hill. His first pitch in to Kyle Cincinnati misses a bit too high. It's 1-0 to start. John Carroll's day is done. He had the best outing out of any Navy hurler this afternoon. Next pitch to Cincinnati is called a strike. It's 1-1. John Carroll tossed 2 innings, allowed 2 hits, no runs. He struck out 1 batter, didn't walk anyone. That was it. Next offering, 1-1 pitch misses just a little bit high. Goes to 2 balls and 1 strike here as Geiger takes over for the midshipmen. Next offering to Cincinnati. Too far outside, and it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Owen Geiger, a 6'4", 225-pound right-handed sophomore out of Atoka, Tennessee. Went to Munford High School. Fires the 3-1, and it's too far inside. Top of the 9th inning, kicks off with a walk to Kyle Cincinnati. 3rd time he's been on base today. That's the 7th walk issued by Navy pitching this afternoon. Just the 3rd outing for Geiger this season. He doesn't have a win or loss, and just in 1 2/3 innings, he's allowed 2 hits, 4 runs on 1 walk and 1 strikeout. He has hit 2 batters. That's what played into the 4 runs he allowed his last time out against Bucknell. A little bit over 2 weeks ago at this point. Now the right fielder, Jacob Slusnarski. First pitch to him, misses too far inside, nearly clipped the shoulder, but it's 1-0 to start. So Navy trailing 9-1 here in the 9th inning. Slusnarski waits for the 1-0. It misses high. Off speed, runs the count to 2 balls and no strikes. 1 for 2 day for Jacob Slusnarski. He's walked twice. Singled up the middle in the 4th inning. Here's the 2-0. Off speed outside. We've seen pitches there called for strike at a couple of points today, but it's still outside of the zone, so it's not too upsetting to see it called for a ball. Next offering, too far away again. And that's ball 4 to put 2 on back-to-back walks to open the inning. Back to the top of the lineup for Sam Grube, and we're going to get a very quick mound visit as Navy is also going to get a little bit of action in their bullpen. Looked like Jackson Beatty, if I'm not mistaken. After today, the midshipmen don't have too long to turn around. They've got another doubleheader ahead of them against Lafayette. This one will be on the road. They'll head to Easton this upcoming Saturday. It'll be 12 o'clock DH for the midshipmen. Mount St. Mary's, on the other hand, they have got a very tall order ahead of them after they head back to Emmitsburg tonight. I have to imagine tomorrow sometime they're flying up to Ann Arbor. They will face off against the Michigan Wolverines on Friday, part of a 3-game weekend series. That's coming up at 4 on Friday the 11th. We're back to action here as the mound visit is over and Sam Grube is into the box. Geiger sends in his first pitch. It's an off-speed for called strike. Bottom of the zone gets us started at 0-1. 6th time at the plate today for Sam Grube. He's 2 for 4 overall, 0-1, and he bounces it foul up the first base line, 0-2. RBI double in the 4th inning and a run scored. Had a single in the 7th inning, but he got forced out at second to end the frame. Also walked back in the 5th. First and second, no one out here in the top of the 9th as Navy trails 9-1. 0-2 offering. And it's too far outside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. It's been an uncharacteristic day in many facets for the midshipmen, but it is still just the midweek matchup. Want to set themselves up for what's going to be another busy and tough weekend overall as the 1-2 pitch misses outside to run the count even at 2. They played 4 games in 2 days over this past weekend. Splitting the doubleheader with Lafayette on Saturday and then splitting the doubleheader again with Lehigh on Sunday. Navy won the first in both contests. Here's a flare out toward right center field. That's going to drop in for a base hit. They're going to send the runner from second to come home and score. Throw home is just too late on the relay, so Sam Grube delivers with an RBI base hit. He goes to second on the back end of the throw as well. That makes it a 10-1 Mount St. Mary's lead. Slusarski went to third, and it's the 3rd hit, 2nd RBI of the day for Sam Grube. As they stand at 2nd and 3rd now with still no one out here in the top of the 9th for the Mount. Ty Frito will step into the box. Infield still playing at a regular depth. First pitch to the right-hander. He watches outside half of the plate. It's 0-1 to start. 0 for 4 day from Frito. He struck out twice, walked once, flew out to right field, and hit into a fielder's choice. Here's the 0-1. A flinch, called strike anyway on an off-speed outside half of the plate. It's 0-2. 2 RBI today. Sam Grube up to 26 on the season now. Frito trying to drive a couple in himself. The 0-2. Check swing. He went around. Home plate umpire Donald O'Shea rings him up. And Frito goes down swinging. First punch out for Owen Geiger today. 6th overall for Navy pitching, and with 1 gone, here's Nolan Book. And it looks like they're going to swap in a left-hander here for Book. It's going to be number 6, Sam Dinitz. Dinitz, a 6-foot, 175-pound right-handed sophomore from West Caldwell, New Jersey. He is making just his 4th appearance of the season. First pitch into him, misses inside, and it's 1-0 to start. Here's the 1-0, and Dinitz watches a called strike in the upper outside corner. 1-1 now. So Nolan Book finishes with an interesting day. Eventually went 3 for 5. 3 singles, 3 stolen bases, 2 RBI. 1-1. Dinitz knuckles it into the netting, foul left side. 1 ball and 2 strikes here. Dinitz only has 1 at-bat under his belt this season. He has a walk and a strikeout. This is just his 4th appearance of the year, as Owen Geiger is trying to finish out the inning as quickly as possible. 1-2. Down and inside. Might have kicked up a little bit of the turf as well. Runs the count even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. This is going to be the last midweek matchup, non-conference-wise, for Navy until April 22nd. So they've got a couple of weeks before they have one of these. Can't call it a throwaway game. No game is a throwaway game, but the non-conference portion, especially once you're in the midst of the conference season, doesn't carry as much weight. 2-2 again, fouled back. Count stays even. Here's the next. Up and away, run it full. And Navy welcomes William and Mary on Tuesday, April 22nd. And then they close the regular season with some non-conference action. They're going to head down to Virginia for a midweek affair on April 30th. 3-2. Fouled back to the screen again as Dinitz is sticking with it. And Navy has a regular season ending weekend series hosting Binghamton. Here's the payoff. And it's smacked hard to the right side. Dinitz is going to pick up his first base hit of the season, and it's going to score a run. Rounding third and coming home to score Slusarski. Groob goes to third base. It's an RBI single for Sam Dinitz. That gets his team riled up. They were really pulling for him on that plate appearance. His first base hit of the year, his first RBI, and it's an 11-1 to Mount St. Mary's lead here with 2 runs in the top of the 9th inning. Yeah, you got a feel for schools like Binghamton University. Obviously, many of those northern schools, they schedule their first half of the season as the first pitch here to Rudisill is lifted foul, out of play to the left side, nothing in 1 to start. Obviously, they schedule the first half of their season usually south, and will start the year with lengthy road trips just to avoid playing in their own facilities. It's because it's so cold. I remember being up the AA ballpark in Binghamton there, one April, as the 0-1 pitch is swung on and missed inside. It's 0-2 already here on Rudisill, who's 1 for 3 on the day, but he's gotten hit by a pitch twice. I remember it snowed that April at that ballpark. Here's the 0-2, and it hits him again. That is the 3rd time that Rudisill has been hit by a pitch in this game. That's going to load the bases. Rudisill came into today being hit by a pitch 8 times this season. That wasn't even the most on this Mount St. Mary's roster. But he's been hit by a pitch 3 times now, and still with only 1 out, the bases are now loaded for Logan Yee, who's getting his 2nd trip to the plate after coming in as a pinch hitter. First pitch to him is called for strike low. It's 0-1. Yee replaced Ethan Flower, who ended up going 1 for 4 on the day with an RBI single. Next pitch, and it's too far outside. 1 ball and 1 strike. Yee grounded out to the shortstop back in the 8th inning. His first plate appearance. On the season, he's just 1 for 11, making 1 for 12 after his earlier plate appearance. This next one is bounced foul up the third base line. 1 ball and 2 strikes here on Yee. He's had a little bit of time in the lineup. 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. He's good for contact. Just hasn't been able to put it to the right spot yet this year. Bases loaded, one away here in the top of the ninth. The 1-2. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Sinking breaking ball there for Owen Geiger. He's got second strikeout in this inning.
Now batting number 8, Matteo Zeppieri.
And now Matteo Zeppieri, who has had one of the best days at the plate for Mount St. Mary's. Comes in with the bases loaded and 2 outs. Maybe down by 10. First pitch. And Zeppieri, a little ahead of it, taps it foul off of home plate back to the screen. It's 0-1 to start. Zeppieri is 3 for 3. All 3 of his hits have been doubles. Came into today's game with just 6 doubles on the season. Doubled in the second, had a sac fly in the third. Got hit by a pitch with the bases loaded in the fourth. The 0-1 here. He swings and misses ahead of an off speed. Already 0-2. He doubled and scored in the sixth, then doubled again in the eighth. So he's been on base 4 times in 3 at-bats, 5 plate appearances. Driven in 2, scored 1. 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss for strike 3. Another curveball there for Owen Geiger to finish out the frame. Mount St. Mary's does score 2 more times while Geiger collects 3 strikeouts. We go to the bottom of the ninth as Navy trails 11-1 here on the Navy Radio Network. On to the bottom of the ninth inning here at Max Bishop Stadium as Navy has a lot of ground to cover if they want to pick up this comeback win against Mount St. Mary's. It's an 11-1 ball game as the midshipmen have been held without since the 3rd inning. Navy's only got 5 total hits, 3 of those coming in the first 3 innings. And since then, they've been able to get a couple of runners into scoring position, but just haven't been able to push it the rest of the way. Loaded the bases in the 4th. Had a runner at 2nd in the 6th and in the 7th, but still nothing. And as we move to the bottom of the 9th, Tyler Bouchard will lead off for the midshipmen. It'll be him, Tristan Rucker, and then Henry Mitchell to go. Looks like a new pitcher on the mound for Mount St. Mary's, and it looks like we're going to get a pinch hitter as well for the midshipmen as Owen Peterson comes in to bat. So it won't be Bouchard. First pitch instead to Peterson is too far inside, and it's 1-0 to start. So Bouchard ends his day 0 for 3. He struck out 3 times as the next pitch is too far outside, 2-0. New pitcher on the mound for Mount St. Mary's is Jake Andrews. As the next offering. Still too far away. Just a bit that time, not as much. It's already 3-0. Max McCrary pitched well. He might be in line for the win after this one. 3 innings of scoreless ball. The 3-0 pitch is called for strike on the outside edge here to Owen Peterson. 3 innings, 2 hits. Again, no runs for McCrary. He struck out 3 and walked only 1 batter. As the 3-1 pitch misses too far inside, Owen Peterson opens up the bottom of the 9th inning by drawing the free pass. Tristan Rucker will step into the batter's box now. Maybe not swapping out the designated hitter just yet. First pitch in, and Rucker watches a curveball hit the inside half of the plate for a called strike, and it's 0-1 to start. Rutgers had a strong day at the plate, too. Don't want to take him out after he picked up his first start of the year and showed up with a 2-for-2 performance. A couple of singles, a run scored, a walk. Next pitch misses outside. It's 1-1. See what he can do to finish out the year. We can tell you about the new pitcher on the mound, though. Jake Andrews, 6'2", 195-pound right-handed senior from St. John's, Florida. Went to Battram Trail High School as he tosses over to first base on a pickoff. Comes up empty. Didn't play at all last season due to injury, but he's seen the field a lot this year. This is his 11th appearance. 1-1, and he watches it miss low. Count goes to 2-1 strike on Rucker. In 10 outings for Andrews, he's got an 0-2 record, a 7.47 ERA. 15 2/3 innings. He's allowed 19 hits, 14 runs, 13 earned. The 2-1 pitch is called for strike on the outside half of the plate. It's 2-2. He's walked 14 and struck out only 12. Andrews has allowed 7 doubles and a homer. Next offering, popped up, right side, foul ground. Cincinnati without the mask, has a beat on it. Called off by the first baseman, Rudisil, who overran the ball. Falls just behind him, might have clipped his glove a little bit, but it's just a foul ball on the box score at the end of the day. And Tristan Rucker gets another chance in the batter's box, still with a 2-2 count. Runner at first, no one out here in the bottom of the ninth as Navy trails 11-1. Next offering, slider misses too far outside. Cincinnati has to track it down after it skipped off his glove briefly, and the count runs full. Andrews set, fires home, and it's too far away. Back-to-back walks here to start the bottom of the ninth inning from Jake Andrews from Mount St. Mary's. Still a chance for Navy to at least get the offense rolling here in this last half inning. See what they can piece together. Looks like the Mids are making another change for a pinch hitter. They're going to bring in Ivan Aguirre. I don't know why I want to say Ivan. Ivan Aguirre will bat first pitch, and he swings and misses. So Henry Mitchell is out. He finished the day 0-for-2. The shortstop had a walk and a strikeout. 0-1 to Aguirre, and it's too far up and away. As you hear that wind continue to roll on by. 1-1 strike. Aguirre on the season, 12 games, 8 starts. 172 average with 2 doubles, a triple, no homers, 3 runs batted in, 3 scored. 1-1 pitch, and he watches it miss up and away. 2-1 strike here as the count sits. You got 2 on, none out, and we're going to get a mound visit. Meanwhile, Mount St. Mary's has a right-hander softly tossing on the mound. We'll see if we get a pitching change just based on this start of the ninth inning from Jake Andrews, but a 10-run lead might not need to worry him too much. Who knows? He's had some good appearances. Worst outing of the year came a little bit shy of a month ago when Mount St. Mary's was visiting D.C. Gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. Didn't record a single out against George Washington back on the 18th. They're going to keep Andrews in the game, understandably, but as Mount St. Mary's wants to use up another one of their mound visits, use it while you have it. Doesn't hurt. For now, you've got Ivan Aguirre back in the box. Still ahead on this count. 2 balls and a strike. Next pitch. And he fouls it off. Shanked a little bit over to the right side. And the count goes even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Top of the order due up for Navy. Mason Ceccarelli is on deck. Mid's not going to swap him out. He's got 2 of their 5 hits today. 2-2. And it's again foul, this time on a pop behind home plate and out of play. High curveball that time as the count stays even at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Andrews looks back second a couple of times, finally deals the 2-2, and it's too far down and away. Well, above all things, that pitch count for Andrews is already climbing as you get a back pick over to second base, unsuccessful. Owen Peterson back in safely, and we wait on the full count offering. Here it comes. Up and away. 3 straight walks to start the inning from Jake Andrews. We'll see if Mount St. Mary's is willing to keep him in the game after that, especially with the top of the lineup here for Navy. Mason Ceccarelli into the box, and it looks like Andrews is going to stick around. First pitch into the left-hander, and Ceccarelli watches a called strike. Changeup hits the outside half of the zone, and it's 0-1 to start. 2 for 3 day for Mason Ceccarelli. Again, he's got 2 of the 5 Navy hits, both of them singles. One in the first inning, he got caught stealing second base. Drove in a run in the third with a single, 0-1 pitch. And he watches a slider called for strike in the inside half of the plate. Already 0-2 here. Mason got knocked out on a double play to end that third inning. Struck out looking in the 5th, walked in the 7th, and another double play took him off the path. So 2. Popped up, left side, foul ground for third baseman Ty Frito. Ranging onto the warning track, he makes the catch. Tough look there with a bit of a lean as the ball crosses into some of the shade brought on by the trees and the dugout. As this game has stretched on, we're over the 3-hour mark for this afternoon. Here's Noah Adidas. First pitch. And Adidas watches a slider miss down and away. 1-0 to start. 0 for 4 day from Adidas. He struck out in the first. Popped out to first in foul territory in the third. Struck out again in the 5th, and then bounced into a double play at second base in the 7th. 1-0 pitch. And he smokes a line drive to short. That's going to be a double play to end the game. It's picked up by Book and sent to Groob at second to double up Tristan Rucker. That will wrap this one up for the midshipmen as their offense just couldn't find their way. 3 double plays to end 3 different innings from the Mount St. Mary's defense. And the midshipmen fall today 11-1. That's going to do it for us and our broadcast here on the Navy Radio Network. We thank you so much for stopping by. Your final box score in this one as Mount St. Mary's scores 11 runs on 15 hits with no errors and 13 left on base. Navy scored 1 run on 5 hits with 1 error and 10 left on base. As the midshipmen fall to 18-16 on the year, a 2-game losing streak for Navy. They're now 14-9 at home. Mount St. Mary's improves to 14-17 on the season. A 1-game winning streak for the Mount. They're now 10-10 when playing on the road. Again, up next for Navy, they will hit the road to Easton to face off against the Lafayette Leopards this Saturday, April 12th. It'll be a doubleheader tipping off starting at 12 noon. So if you can tune in for that one on however Lafayette is covering it, be sure to do so. If you want to tune in to the next Navy broadcast, it will be April 19th when Holy Cross comes to town for a Saturday doubleheader starting at 1 o'clock. But that's going to do it for us this afternoon. One more time as Navy falls to Mount St. Mary's 11-1. This is Matt Sabata saying thank you so much for stopping by today here on the Navy Radio Network.